Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, January 4th, 2022. Hola, Pedro. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. As I said, I was starting a few minutes early. I know that people will continue to hop on in. Today is level 2, lesson 8, and the name of the lesson is Loving All Aspects of Self. However, as I went over my class materials preparing for things last night and into this morning, I realized that I really had to revamp everything about my presentation in light of our current planetary experience, and also warning in giant capital letters with like flashing red lights. I was awoken by the house dog last night at like 4:30 in the morning, barking loudly, and compensated with caffeine this morning, and have been feeling like I am ready to rage against the injustices of the cosmos. So literally, I wanted to say at the beginning of this video, I know some people watch as a family. They might watch with young people or babies or whatever. This might not be the best episode for you to watch, or the best sharing and teaching. Also, if you're feeling emotionally perturbed, a little down, or otherwise fragile, then this might not be the best recording for you. You might not want to be here in class, or you might not want to catch the archive, because I am going to talk about some things that might be considered difficult topics. I might even use 4-letter words. Like, as I was, again, like perturbed by the dog waking me up this morning, again, not Cheeky, the other dog who was being kind of loud and naughty. I was lying there thinking about all these things. And you know what I really realized? That other dog is a sacred dog. Like, that dog's agitation in the morning, probably expressing some level of like, inner soul grief or something like that. And the way that that dog was angry, that dog made me feel angry. And I really started to feel all these angry feelings about everything that is this topic of class. And I realized that is the dog's discontent is divine, and my discontent is also divine. So as I express that divine discontent here now, please be radically compassionate and loving and forgiving towards me in me sharing all of these things. I want to say it might be difficult to hear. I also want to say I am never critical of people who are Christians, who are trying to do good things in their life, who even people who are turning to the Bible, who are biblical literalists. I am never critical of you, critical of your faith, or critical of Jesus Christ. We're going to talk about Jesus Christ differently than like last week. I did a beautiful, beautiful teaching focusing on like the beautiful peacefulness of Christ consciousness. And here's, oh, Melissa, I love you. Melissa's so great. She's saying, bring it, Aurora. Love this info. Feels like it is needed lately. Yeah. So let me begin with my strong language. Today is going to be a kick-ass class, because my stuff that I recorded from 10 years ago, loving all aspects of self, I have to protect what I teach from any possible being misconstrued, or I wanted to say misconstruement, but that's not really a word, from being misconstrued, or from being misappropriated, or from being taken out of context and used as a disempowerment tool, weaponized against you in the same way that many of the beautiful teachings of the beautiful blessed person who we know as Jesus Christ, those teachings and the example of his life being taken, twisted, inverted, partially shared, not fully shared, and then weaponized against others in the sense of requiring your passivity, or requiring your martyrdom, or requiring you to experience violence against you, any of those things. I never wish for my work to be taken out of context. And again, like, this is in total respect and love for those who are trying to embody peacefulness, forgiveness, nonviolence, some of the wonderful ideals that are taught, but then also not wanting to condone any sense of required victimhood or passivity, because that is not what being a Christ is. All right. So I'm sure you can hear my voice sounds like very scratchy, and I also sound very like, yes, I have been using my voice a lot today, and there's a power in declaring your sovereignty, and there's a power in declaring with your voice certain energetic truths or energetic boundaries, because I want you to know that this world that you're in right now, this planet, or however you would like to describe it, this plane of existence, is not being subjected to fully cosmic law. Like, we don't have universal or cosmic law acting in a pristine way here, the way that we are actually supposed to. And we do have these other rules I was initially going to describe them as a subset, like here's all of the rules that humans have been subjected to, including many unfairnesses and injustices over the past, 3 or 4 years or 10 years specifically. And then here's cosmic law. But I don't even want to do that. I don't even want to say that these injustices here fall underneath the larger umbrella of cosmic or universal law. I want to say that they're extra legal, that they are outside of true cosmic law, and that the things that have been normalized or justified in our realm are completely non-normative, completely unjustifiable, and that they represent such a subversion of cosmic law that it calls into question some of the basic theological teachings of the Christian religion in terms of Jesus Christ, the crucifixion being a ransom or way of redeeming other people's souls, and that all it takes is, an alignment or a belief in Jesus Christ. I don't want my work to be taken out of context either. It is not my intention with this recording right now in any way take anyone away from their faith or away from their belief or away from their belief in Jesus Christ as a savior or as a bridge to a greater reality or as a belief system that can lift you up. Again, pardon me for, I've drank caffeine today, and that's why I'm like this. For anyone or anything like Jesus Christ, a belief system that will help to elevate you and uplift you and bring you towards greater levels of spiritual truth, divine connection, and clarity. I honor all of those things. So one of the, criticisms that I'm bringing is that within the unfairness rules that have been perpetrated upon humanity right now, there's this sense of, yes, within this system of unfairness, and the way that you get out of the system of unfairness is by believing in this particular person, in this particular teaching, in this particular way, and that if you do that right, then you'll be able to be elevated out of the unfairness. And I'm clearly wanting to refocus and speak well on this. You're not in a legal framework right now. You are in a war. So everything of the sense, so I do not ever wish to diminish the sacrifice of someone coming here as a cosmic visitor and literally giving their life in service to humanity. That is an amazing thing to do. And I want you to know what I taught last week in terms of non-religious Christ consciousness is not every aspect of my being. That is one portion of my being. And another portion of my being is very faithful, that I do have a love of Jesus Christ, a faith in the man, a faith in who he is as a person and his greatness. Like I truly believe that there's a person who lived, who was an amazing person, who did an amazing thing in order to help and serve others. And also that, so any of my criticisms that I'm saying right now are not criticisms of that person, their life, or trying to do something literally heroic to help other people. But it's the sense of, all right, if I'm going to bring you a flim flam game, like some sham kind of a game, and the sense of, it's not fair, but there's certain unfair rules within this flim flam game. And then someone else comes along and was like, yeah, like I'm going to help and save you by agreeing to the rules of the flim flam game, and then kind of finding a way to, that's the idea of the ransom of the crucifixion, that, someone who is great came here, offered, they didn't have to die, they offered themselves in order to kind of get you out of a mess that is a spiritual imprisonment. So clearly I have so many different things to talk about. And how does this relate to my material from 10 years ago? Because my material from 10 years ago, this is the basic synopsis. We must love all aspects of self. When we get to the level of cosmic consciousness, of being a star and even a galaxy and even greater, we begin to see that each star is like an artist in an art studio, an artist of consciousness that is creating biological experiments on planets. You are the art project of a particular star, and that each one of these biological or consciousness-based art projects that is also based in time is an aspect of a larger characteristic that might be exacerbated. So on a cruel, harsh, planet or world, the type of consciousness that develops might be very cruel and very harsh. Like, remember the story from ancient Greece, there was Athens and there was Sparta, and the Athenians were a particular way, and the Spartans were, the word that we use now is Spartan, like no luxuries, no extras. If someone was born with a birth defect, they left them out on the rocks overnight to die. You get it? They were like, you're going to have to be physically fit. You're going to have to be this way. It was part of their culture and part of their society. And it was, part of their survival of in their world to be that way. So when we look at something that we would define as reptilian characteristics, even though, please hear the air quotes around reptilian, there are many galactic facets of consciousness that are out there, many different types of space races. And you know me, I'm Aurora. I come from a space race and am part of a level of galactic society that we do not use technology for this very, very reason, that we say, if you need to use a clank clank metal spaceship to get off the surface of your planet, you probably should not be out and about. You should not be hopping off the surface of your planet and going places and doing things, because you have not yet mitigated the inner tendencies and the out of balance characteristics that could be dangerous to the rest of the cosmos. All right. So there are some places where life develops as an art project, where it is very kill or be killed. It is very cruel. It is very harsh. It is very much like giant toothy monsters that are constantly fighting each other, and that they don't, they have a harshness, a cruelty. Hi, Lucy, good to see you. And thank you for being here. And I would love to connect with you soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Back to the antithesis of Lucy, who is a beautiful person, life that develops in these very cruel, harsh places that, has no way of being able to care for another. They're only out for themselves. They're only, beholden to themselves. Like I'm trying to say, my teaching from 10 years ago says that makes sense for their contextual development. Those characteristics can be seen as appropriate. Like if you go to Antarctica, you're gonna have to wear a parka, right? You're gonna have to wear huge insulation. You can't just wear your little bikini. And then I joked a couple of weeks ago about like Planet Teletubby or something like that, like the nice fuzzy happy bunny planet where everyone is like, you can walk around wearing a bikini and everything is great, and everyone hugs all around. We all love each other. And it's a completely different environment where it's warm, easy to survive. There's plenty of food. There's not this sense of the fight for resources, and different levels of personality characteristics can develop. This is all my teaching from 10 years ago. It's valid, but it also is from a very idealistic and very pristine viewpoint. And what I teach about in the stuff from last year, from many years ago, is the sense of how do you love these things that are negative personality characteristics. The problem is when they use technology, they get off of their planet and sometimes fly around to other planets. Sometimes they get out of their dimension. You should not go dimension hopping if you need some kind of a clank clank dimension hopping vehicle to help you do it, because you're probably not ready to do it. And they have pretty much not in their states of immaturity brought their negative personality characteristics into a far greater level of powerfulness than they should be. You could even say that they're like an empire, or whatever, parasites. They've colonized a lot of the world, and that they don't just go out and clank metal spaceships. They also go out in consciousness emanations, artificial telepathy, as opposed to Aurora and the other light eaters, who we are on a bridge of love and natural telepathy. So we're playing this beautiful harmonic music that is based in love and love telepathy. And then there are these other creatures that are on a much, much smaller, lesser level, and yet can be troublesome. And I never want the teachings that I did from 10 years ago to relate to the religious trauma of many people's cultural filter, where you might be interpreting this and thinking, oh, reptiles are invading my planet, reptiles in air quotes, brutal technology using harmful space races, which is literally what Satan is defined as. And we'll get into that without using too much triggering biblical language. But these real power abusers, perilously invading your planet, I don't want you to say, so we need to love them, hug them. No, I don't want you to love them, hug them. or to whatever, kumbaya, you know what I mean? Everybody make friends, everybody's friends. Or I don't want you to be exploited by them. I don't want you to be exploited by their lies, because they are liars. Remember, they might come from a place where lying is a very effective personality and survival strategy. What do I say to you all the time, guys? Where I come from, lies not only do not exist, you would find them rather laughable, because you're like, that's a lie. You're like, imagine that you built your house out of some kind of like a twig that breaks that fast. You'd be like, you can't build your house out of that twig. Like, you're not going to have a house. That is how we look at lies, because the polygonal structure of truth is literally what sustains consciousness at higher levels of divine connection, where there's more energy and there's more self-responsibility, and you must be shaped exactly right. And if you choose not to have the structure of your beingness conform to cosmic truth, then it's pretty much like very foolish and self-destructive, because you are creating a lack of structural integrity that makes you extremely vulnerable. And as soon as one quote unquote gust of wind, a big giant influx of energy of truth comes through the house of your being, snap, snap, snap. These things don't hang together. And the idea is, on your journey of learning, it is a very just and merciful cosmos, cosmic design, and divine intelligence that's running this whole place. Is like, before you jump into the deep end, why don't you try out your thought consciousness vessel in this little shallow end over here? Then why don't you see what breaks? See what breaks. This is what I call like doing the cosmic math homework. Where are the red X's? Where are the vulnerabilities in thought forms and in lack of structural integrity? That means that you will not have consciousness coherence. So all of these guys that use technology, they use technology as a compensatory mode because they literally don't have structural coherence. They literally would fall apart if they didn't have technology, life support systems, and more importantly and more distressingly, a constant influx of DNA and misery energy. That is the energy of suffering that they get from taking stuff away from other people. All of this parasitism is non-acceptable, because instead of, first of all, like landing hard, hitting rock bottom and being like, oops, fell on my ass, got to do it better, they are compensating and staying like just above rock bottom by the constant influx of like parasited energy. This affects DNA, which is everything everywhere. That's really, really big. When I teach you about flying rainbow lasagna, Aurora is very responsible. That means that I make sure that I say what you're doing with your DNA is not just in your own private kiddie pool. You are connected to an ocean of consciousness. You are connected to a sea of light. Your DNA is a bridge of light between your individuality structure moving through time and a much, much larger time animal. And what you do in your body with your DNA, you balance out responsibility to yourself and responsibility to the ecosystem of consciousness that you're within. These other guys use DNA like an exploitive resource. Like on this, and this is where I think I get the caricature of the cigar chomper. Hey, nice DNA you got there. How about I take some of this and take some of this and take some of this, and I'm going to use it for powering my starship, and I don't really care if it causes destabilizations that harm entire civilizations over here, cause tons and tons and tons of death, cause extinction, genocide, or even destabilize the entire time field. I'm warning you guys, this is going to be a rant. We are only 18 minutes in. Prepare for rant. This is the level that I'm at here. So I also would say, like, if this is the let this not be the introduction to my material unless you are like very fortified and very ready. And also, this is not rosé. This is electrolyte water. Do not need rosé in order to connect to these levels of dissatisfaction and to truly use my voice. There are great, great injustices that are going on your planet right now. And there are injustices that have essentially gone on from the beginning of what you would call human civilization, which is the genetic modification of humans away from your, what I would call angelic form. Angelic in air quotes, but still a valid allusion, a literary allusion to whom you were, or the way that you were structured or truly are structured as divine beings, which is like the antithesis of the reptilians, again, in air quotes, that are more demonic, the fallen angels. What am I trying to say with all of this without getting too biblical? Because it pushes a lot of people's buttons and it makes it difficult for them to really hear where I'm coming from. Lesson 18 is really all about this. the sense that there was the zeroth dimension and God consciousness and some entities that are flawed concepts. If you want to think about DNA and the structure of what I'm telling you, it's thought structure. Negative thought entities means entities shaped wrong. When I call them grotesque, that is the word that we have, not just for something that's icky and yucky or poop. It is for something that is misshapen. They are misshapen thought structures. And in terms of being misshapen, in the most abstract crown chakra viewpoint that you can look at them, you can say those are discards. Those are discards of consciousness. They are not the perfectly shaped central core focus of what thought forms are supposed to be shaped like. All right. So humans have a true divine factory settings nature of what you are supposed to be shaped like. And I would call that your more angelic nature, that is who you are when you are able to eat pure light. Before the invasion and genetic modification of this planet, a long or concurrent time ago, that turned humans from being light eaters into food eaters, and that also made humans experience death. Those two things were part of the influx of these non-original entity characteristics that are actually the grotesque discards, that they are not supposed to be in your DNA at all. So I'm at odds with traditional Christian theology. Please forgive me, Christians, with the sense and definition of humans as being sinners. I do not feel that you are sinners. I feel that you have innate, unfair genetic modifications that have been done to you, that it is a victimization, even though I don't want you to identify as victims. I want you to rise up in your power, but I don't want you to claim ownership of something by saying you did it to yourself or that you agreed to it when you are not in consent and you have no contract with the ones that did this to you. Big. So when I talk about those unfair rules that humans have been living under for a very long amount of time, we talk about the Torah, which is the original Bible, the first books of the Bible. They're known as the books of Moses or the Old Testament. It's 5,000 years old, and it basically tells humans you're under a contract to suffer because you did something wrong, even though that's not the truth. That's a big lie to base a whole religious relationship upon. And it's a control structure lie, because it brings people into the sense of being in contract with something. In contract means like you have an agreement, like, oh, like we have reframed it this way. Contract can also be considered as a premise. Like a premise is in skit comedy. If you're like, okay, three people are sitting next to each other and the premise is they're sitting on a bench waiting for a bus. And then the improv is, someone's going to offer someone else a stick of gum. So the context and the premise, that's the contract that you have with these invaders that we could call reptilian, that we can also call in more neutral language service to self, or we can say that they are analogous to the demons or the fallen angels of the human Bible. And then we can also say that in the language of this class, we call them the pesky occupiers of the interstices, that's not so emotionally charged, rather lighthearted. Hat tip to Pedro, who came up with that. And the sense of they are occupiers of the membrane of death and have been there for a long time, troubling and perturbing the experiences of the dead and even negatively influencing the experiences of the living, all right? When they should essentially have no impact. They should have no impact on your afterlife journey, and they should definitely have no impact on your life journey. Because when I get back to lesson 18, as I circle back in my admittedly nonlinear form of expressing myself here, some of these guys left the source and left God, not because they're like, F you, God, like I'm out of here, but because they recognize that they were flawed. They're like, I am the wrong shape and I am not supposed to be emitted by this consciousness emitter that is God, that is the source, that is the reality creation mechanism, or whatever, creator. I should not be here with creator in the space where things get created. I should go to entropy. That was their original religion. That was their original thing, even though it is portrayed in the Bible as like they fell and they were bad and they were wrong, they were going away from God. They would actually be considered good, quote unquote, if they were going away from God properly. P.S. I firmly deny and disaffiliate myself from any affiliation with Satan or with Lucifer or the Luciferians. I do not wish to be considered to be a Luciferian apologist. by giving this information to you. Because then people are going to be like, is Aurora with Lucifer? Is she saying that she thinks that he's not really bad and he's not really a fallen angel? He's not really this and that. Please do not misinterpret what I am saying here. They would be considered good if they were grotesquely deformed, negative thought impulses that went away from God so that they wouldn't be created, and if they actually went to entropy, non-being. We would not have all of these problems. They would not be troubling us in any way. They would be in that state that I am constantly, in a very, very sincere way, talking to you guys about and always trying to communicate to them in all of these gyrations and perturbations that I experience in talking to the dark side and talking to evil and talking to interacting with them. And also, PS, just because you interact with something doesn't mean that you are them. I've been in many ways forced to interact with them unwillingly, but quite wittingly. Like, I'm aware in all of these interactions, I'm always trying to offer them entropy and tell them who they really are, remind them who they really are. I'm like, you guys, you're supposed to be in entropy. You're not supposed to be parasiting energy off of everyone else, causing a great deal of suffering. And then, like I said, keeping yourself barely off of rock bottom. Because these guys that are in hell, that then can make your afterlife hell, but also can really perturb your daily life. Like when you see people that are in profound substance abuse, they're in hell in physicality, biological form, experiencing all of these negative perturbations. They're suffering in their body, and they're often really perceiving the negative thought forms because the chemicals that they take create these portals in their DNA and in their metabolism through which these negative entities can really talk to them and reach through them into your life too. So as you can tell, rant ongoing, big stuff of what I'm talking about, because I don't want you to be an apologist. I am not an apologist for the Satans or Lucifer. I am not an apologist for people who are demonic portals, and I don't want you to be either. This sharing of what I'm doing here is actually much more of a call to arms, to recognize that in this moment, we are actually beyond legalities. We are actually beyond the sense of a failed, unjust, illegal system that you don't have any agreement to be in that premise. You don't actually agree to be sitting on a park bench being offered a stick of gum by anyone. That's actually not the premise of what is going on, because they're trying to say, you're a sinner, you belong here. And now we get to much more current things than when I recorded this 10 years ago. Chemtrails and the nano wetware and the artificial behavioral control system that has been installed in humanity, both as hardware, like I said, these nanofibrils that go inside of people's neurology and fascia, and also software, a set of erroneous, non-God, non-divine thought, emotion, and energy impulses that are used to control human behavior. And all of this is connected to AI, or artificial or pseudo intelligence, which I sometimes insouciantly refer to as genuine stupidity, because it does not actually contain true divine creativity, and in many ways is in illogic with itself. That true artificial intelligence is meant to be a logic system, a logic-based being, which would be a polygonal structure that is perfect. Polygon meaning multi-sided. Struts of a multi-sided, multifaceted thought structure that all fit together, that have cohesion of forces that doesn't fall apart. The AI, which is actually genuine stupidity that you are interactive with through the unfairnesses of this realm, is like a teetering Jenga tower. Not a well-formed polygon at all. This thing is totally in conflict with itself. Here's an assertion, but here's where the assertion isn't right. Here's the thought structure, but here's where it's in conflict with another thought structure. We have some beautiful computer programmers who are in this class. You know who I'm pointing to. And I have, extracurricular conversations with them all the time, talking about this very topic, about not only how the system of reality structure that we're within, which you could consider it as the matrix. I know that is a cultural shorthand that people have adopted since that science fiction movie. So we can call it the matrix. It is an artificial overlay that is, again, not according to divine thought, not according to divine willpower, not according to God's rules, and in many ways contravenes cosmic justice. And this is, and it's been going on for a long time. And this is how you can comprehend how, the child's basic existential questions. If God is good, how can evil exist? Why do bad things happen to good people? How come there can be such profound imbalances in terms of what you send out and what you receive back, when what you send out is supposed to come back to you instantaneously? We have many, many wicked or evil people who do bad things behaviorally, get a lot of money instantaneously. They don't get the cosmic smackdown, which is what they should get. Like if you make a company that sells a bunch of stuff that poisons a bunch of people, you should not be like, I will reward you with sprinkling gold on top of your head. Like, hooray, here are your billions of dollars. Instead, you should be, severely chastised. You should be disempowered. You should have to clean up the messes of all the things that you made. But that's exactly what, like we have like Monsanto, something like that. Like they made a lot of money. They sprinkled a lot of poison on everyone. They got gold instead of the cosmic repercussions of what they did. Things like that don't mean that God doesn't exist. God does exist, and I'm here to affirm that for you. God exists and cosmic law exists, but humans in this realm have been under an unfair set of laws. These laws are so unfair that sometimes you can be in agreement to your own unjust imprisonment just because you don't know that it's unjust, or you don't know that you have to speak up, or you don't know in exactly the way that you have to speak up or advocate for yourself or stand up and say, this is BS and I do not consent. And so there are a lot of good people right now who are doing work in sovereignty work, which is where you make declarations, both energetic and social declarations of your own sovereignty, of who you are, of what you agree to, of what you do not agree to. It's a powerful thing to do, and very powerful to do in this generation, because this is the generation where we get to rescind or revoke, if there ever was any consent to some of these quote unquote soul contracts or familial contracts or ancestral contracts or religious contracts. And my mild criticism of the church, which is like, a lesser criticism than the one of saying that casting humans as innate sinners, the sense of redemption contract within an unfair legal system. So it's kind of like saying like, okay, like you have this planetary invasion, you have a bunch of unfair things happening, and a bunch of very low-level self-serving entities running the show that should not be running the show, completely subverting cosmic law. But within that unfair set of systems, there's someone who came who's very heroic, who's like, look, it ain't fair what's going on, but I'm going to get you out of this. And that's the idea of the crucifixion. And I like that a lot because it's very positive and very powerful and very loving in behavior, that an entity person would do that for us. But the problem is, if you make a deal with liars, first of all, they're liars and they don't necessarily stand up to their side of the bargain. And second of all, it tends to validate the flim flam show. You're like, I don't agree with these rules, but I'm going to work within the unfair rules of the flim flam show and give these guys what they want to get you guys out of there. Sounds good, right? Because we all want to get out of here. But the problem is they don't actually let you out. And the activity of doing that can be misappropriated as a consent or condonement of the extremely flawed system. Blah, Aurora, why are you saying all this stuff to us? I thought this is about loving every aspect of self. And I thought that you were going to tell me that all of these negative thought entities are an aspect of myself as God, and that if I really get up to unity consciousness, I have to love all of them, and that by loving myself fully, I will love them, and everything is going to be kumbaya. And that is what I say to you in a very idealized sense, from a very, very high level viewpoint. It is truthful. Let me just drink. I've been ranting so much. That is truthful from a high level viewpoint. But what is happening on this planet right now is extremely perturbed. And I always say this in every class, and I reemphasize, I never want you to kiss and hug a demon. And as soon as they started to spray chemtrails in your world, roughly 10 or 15 years ago, all of these contracts about consent and free will are rendered moot. What does that mean? Consent means that you must be aware and in control of your willpower to be able to make decisions. If I sprinkled magical fairy dust on top of you and blew it into your eyes and up your nose, and then it was a hypnosis dust, and then I told you like, buy my thing, buy my thing. And you're like, I think I'll buy Aurora's thing. I'm in full consent. No, you're not actually in full consent, because I had the audacity to first take away your consent and take away your free will by sprinkling magical fairy dust on top of you that made you think that you wanted to do something that I wanted you to do. It is completely against boundaries. The chemtrail dust is the magical fairy dust that is not so magical and not so nice. And it totally supersedes any sense of free will. And there's a real breakdown in the adjudication of cosmic law. If you have something like chemtrails being sprayed on the population here, what is it and what does it do? And I mean, like, I'm just going to try to speak as plainly as I can. This is going to be up on YouTube, but I don't expect that I'm going to try to, put the advertisements on things that I use. I'm not going to monetize it as I usually do, because I was thinking about that. I'm like, I'm going to rant. I can't talk about these things. Because usually, like, I save this type of information for my Patreon and my Vimeo. Chemtrails are a form of bioweapon that is non-earthly technology. So first of all, you have non-terrestrial technology that is being sprayed upon terrestrial citizens. It goes directly to your pineal gland. It doesn't just sit on the outside of your corneas. Be like, wow, like my contact lenses are smeary. Like, I better get some fresh contact lenses to be able to see more clearly. This is all about blocking out the technology users, blocking you from being able to perceive them with both optical frequencies, but also with your eye of inner knowing. Those particles, and the particles are semi-metallic, but also semi-fungal parasitic. It's like a bio mishmash. It would never exist naturally. And also, I will tell you that there is some aspect to it in terms of quantum observership, that it's interdimensional. It comes into being partially based upon your attention and intention. And so it's harnessing you as observer, proliferates in your body through your observership. But that does not equate to consent. You're not like, oh, like, more gellins, please grow inside of me. I'm welcoming you in. No, not at all. But more like as you look at your body in horror and realize this stuff is happening, it's like, oh, can I please harness your observership in order to build more of myself? Sounds great. And this is also what we've been experiencing in the past 3 years. There's this particular thing, the unmentionable, that's been going around. That is the ultimate. It's the apotheosis of this whole program that was initially meant. It is Antichrist. It is an Antichrist technology. Your planet has been soft invaded for a very long time, with Antichrists hard invaded over the past 3 years. So this isn't even lesson 18. And I am, again, putting a big fat warning on here, big, difficult topic and difficult ranting, but I will bring this to, positive empowerment teachings. And please note, everything that I talk about here, in every way, I'm here as a force for freedom and to bring empowerment, not merely to decry an unfair situation. Knowledge is power, and that is a big part of this. Why would they block out your pineal gland? Why would they block out your eye? Why would they block out your own innate connection and telepathic divine connection to other people, to be able to know things and be on this larger, truthful, non-synthetic network of telepathy? And the answer is because knowledge is power, and blinding you and preventing you from knowing about things is one way of keeping you imprisoned. So that, I also must say, it is a huge mischaracterization to say that you are somehow, your Earth and Earthlings are cosmic criminals, and we're going to have to encapsulate you there. Hose them down, everyone. Look, I'm hosing down the planet over here. Hose them down with chemtrails, keep them in there, make sure that they don't escape their confinement. They're too dangerous, too barbaric, too violent, no, we can't let them have access to their own pineal glands for our sake, for the sake of the protection of the cosmos. They must be diminished in their sense of personal empowerment. We must keep their pineal glands from them so that they do not imagine certain things into existence. We are great heroes for disempowering those humans, spraying them down, hosing them down with Antichrist, both hardware and software, and disempowering those humans so that they not only remain peasants, but also so that they remain vulnerable to our ministrations and to our harvestings of their miseries and the creation of their miseries. You understand, I'm being totally facetious. You could tell by my overacting, right? You could tell I was being very facetious, trying to be a little lighthearted here. Joanne got it totally. She told me in the emojis there. No, this is a huge, invalid, very facetious, quite unbelievable system of justifications that the imprisoners of earth do. You are not imprisoned in the sense that a person who is either awaiting trial or has already experienced trial is in imprisonment. You are prisoners of war. So I really want to say with this particular broadcast, like bringing it out of the sense of cosmic, some sense of legal system justice within the unjust system of what I would say is reptilian law, or sometimes it might be called Draco law, or sometimes you might call it demonic law, but none of that is valid under cosmic law. And even that is superseded by the truth that you are in a war. As soon as they sprayed chemtrails on you, it superseded any possible contextual definition of you being here under law and under jurisdiction. And Charlie B and I, we also have these conversations that are all about the Galactic Federation and these other, I want to say effing losers. I have only unkind language to refer to them and to describe them, in that they are power abusers extraordinaire, that they are mafiosos presiding over systems of great unfairness. When I say mafiosos, I mean extra legal, non-enforcers, as opposed to cosmic cops, as opposed to real law enforcement, real law enforcement that is making certain that cosmic law is being enforced and that there's not power abuse. They are the literal antithesis of that. They are in love with their own station, their own elevation above others, have absolutely no compunction against the diminishment of others, keeping you in the sense of being a consciousness peasant and presiding over your victimhood, presiding over your victimization. Like, yes, those people have been sprayed into blindness, and now they are being victimized. Many, many crimes are being perpetrated against them. I, as the Galactic Federation watching over this, am totally aware of this, doing effing nothing about it, and am actually complicit and actually benefit myself, which is the mafioso part, from the illegal activities that are going on here. When I say illegal activities, I'm really talking about the barter in the Bible. It's what they call the buying and selling of men's souls. The barter for the life force energy that is your divine right, that makes you who you are, and that makes you go through life and have creative energy, life force energy, sexual energy, and the willpower to choose where you go and what you do. That's part of your soul. Then when it talks about the bartering of men's souls, men's means humanity. So it's not just male people in the gender levels. And it also means souls, like your soul trajectory. So now we come around to the sense of the lollipops, which I have to call them if I want to be able to share this video on YouTube. Lollipops that can bring someone so far away from their divine connection that it can bring them away from their soul. Your soul is your trajectory of consciousness across multiple parallel, concurrent lifetimes, lifespans, and forms of life. You have a provenance, you have a story of who you are and who you've been, and even the potentials of where you're going. That is your soul. And soul also equates to responsibility in cosmic law, meaning I did that thing. Hey, maybe I was in another body. I was in the body of a flatworm at the time, but I did something bad and wrong. And it's important for me to say, when I was a flatworm, I did something naughty and I take responsibility for it. And then now I rectify that. That's called having a soul. I want to say that's called having an effing soul, because I get so angry and quite, in disarray, in emotional disarray about this. Those who refuse to take responsibility for what they have done, both in this body, in this format, or in other formats, and also do these types of dimension and soul, not whole soul, dimension and container hopping, where they then refuse to take responsibility for the things that they've done. So there is a technology that these lower level reptilian and air quotes types of, see that what Satan means is a group, it is the descriptive term for a group of particular space races who use technology, and they use technology in a way that empowers themselves at the expense of others, and their technology runs on misery. Okay, that they that's the definition literally of what their technology does. They misappropriate the energy of someone else's soul trajectory, put that other being into misery, a diminished state, a de-elevated state, and they use that energy either to artificially augment themselves and be like, you know, like how cocaine makes you feel like, not that I've ever taken it, but it makes you feel like, hooray, like I'm so great, I'm the greatest person in the world, my ego feels fantastic. Their soul stealing technology elevates them out of the bleakness of their true conscience, which says like, I'm a piece of shit. That's what their true conscience tells them. But I say this all the time, they're getting high on your stash. They steal your ascension energies. Snap, this is what's going on. Like, I'm trying to frame what's actually happening on your planet right now, that your planet's been hard invaded over the past couple of years. You're supposed to be having a wonderful, magical effing, beautiful, peaceful ascension. I'm making fun of myself and my own intensity here. But what's really happening is someone else is stealing your ascension energies, misappropriating them before they actually get to you. Someone else is getting high on your stash, and you're still sitting here in misery, in a puddle of misery, feeling very diminished, and looking to the sky and wondering what's going on, and also wondering, like, you know, is there anybody out there? Is what's happening with God? Should my shoulders go up? Like, does anybody care? Does anybody know about this? Yes, we care. Yes, we know about this. Yes, this is a great injustice and this is not okay. And when I say we, I'm talking about like the real light family. All light is entangled, all of us as true light beings. And Christ is light. From my teaching last week, from my beautiful, peaceful teaching last week, I'm full of ire and caffeine today, but please refer to my teaching of last week when I was much more peaceful and when I really spoke about the light of Christ. Christ being a universal consciousness that is consciousness itself, that is light, that is awareness. We live in this world right here that is right now full of the perpetration of false light and illusion. And the false light and illusion is done for behavioral control. It is antichrist. What does antichrist mean? Beyond any kind of sense of like a demon possession movie and like holy waters, I'm trying to move away from biblical literalism, but still get you to comprehend with the words. There is a technology that is against this inner knowing. That is antichrist. It is against your own inner knowing. It is a disempowerment scenario. It is to take you away from your own empowerment, from your own responsibility as a galactic citizen. It is meant to keep you in a state of immaturity or incapacitation. It is meant to be able, the incapacitated state and blinded state is meant to make it possible to continue to exploit you, exploit your energy, exploit the energy of the planet, even subvert the entire planetary ascension. And these activities that are antichrist, they are against Christ, which is a galactic and beyond family of light. So it's not just you, it's not just one religion, it's not just one planet. You declare war on the entire Christ network of light, and things that have been done to your DNA, the DNA on this planet and elsewhere. DNA is also similarly, but not an exact analogy, connected all over. Christ is a network that is connected all over. You do something to one Christ over here, it affects the entire network. Same thing with DNA. DNA is a bridge of light information, intelligence, data that goes across time, across multiple generations. Like the blockchain, it carries an enormous amount of information. It is enormously important, not just to people of this time, place here that make you have brown eyes or something like that, but carrying the potential of information of life itself. When you attack DNA, as DNA has been attacked on this planet, you attack DNA everywhere, you attack life everywhere, you assault God. This is a war and an assault on God. It's an assault on God, the divine presence, beyond the definition of any of the sub-deities that are part of human holy writings. I'll get to all of your questions. I'm sure good stuff is going on in the chat right now. Thank you for allowing me my red hot rant, and then I will go into the chat. Yeah, an assault on Antichrist technology and software is an assault on you as Christ, as a facet of the much larger being. The assaults on DNA. What do those lollipops do? Those lollipops do stuff to DNA, and that DNA affects all life everywhere. It's not just out of tune guitars on this planet, out of tune music that is going to all of these different places, all of these different, not only planets, but parallel dimensions and layers of reality. Wow, that's very big. And you can be like, yeah, but my neighbor chose and consented to eat lollipops. And you have to say, did he get sprayed by chemtrails first? Yes. And then you can't say that they consented because they were blinded, inured. I call it planetary roofie. Roofie stands for roofinol. If you don't know the cultural shorthand, they put things into people's drinks at the bar. Never leave your drink unattended. They will put a roofie in, and then you will be drugged. Someone can abduct you and take you home for violation purposes. This planet has been drugged and taken home for violation purposes. Do you understand? This is distressing stuff. And usually I'm very positive and very uplifting. I will drink electrolytes here. Pedro's putting Merkaba around all. Thank you very much, because that is an effective empowerment tool, and we'll get to empowerment teachings on this too. Why am I talking about all these very intense aspects of being when I usually, again, am very positive, focus on peacefulness and love, and on more positive and uplifting sharings? Because my sharing from 10 years ago, I never wish to be taken out of context when your planet is in so much peril, and when the things that are here are endangering all light, information everywhere, life itself, the time field itself, and are assaulting God itself. I would be doing you a great disservice if I gave you a pie-eyed teaching like the SpongeBob face. Everything is great, loving all aspects of self, and all of these galactic technology using space races that are out there causing misery, raping people, raping planets, raping the genetic code. They're just consciousness exploring itself, and you need to love and accept them. I would actually be horrified if my work were taken out of, decontextualized, and then used as a weapon of a disempowerment tool and an inversion, in the same way that I view the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. I see that again, I share with you my faith now. I have a faith that there was a real person that really came here like as a magician, a very, very positive, light, love-based magic to create a very, very positive change in the world, and that he used his own life force energy as the energy to be able to do that. A real, true, sacrifices to make something sacred, really, truly sanctifying his life and his existence, and with so much to serve others. I really do believe that. And that was done under the umbrella of cosmic and universal law. What is this about cosmic and universal law, Aurora? A lot of it relates to my own journey here through the flying rainbow lasagna portal into this body. Aurora, why are you not simply sitting on a cloud, doing the backstroke, possibly eating an interdimensional strawberry, wearing flowing robes, feeling very, peaceful and great? Why are you here in embodiment? And the answer is, it is not possible to wave your magic wand from the perspective of being an extra dimensional, experiencer, and do this type of having an impact on the world where you are embodied and you have DNA. That it was absolutely essential. Not that I am misappropriating this body in any way. I'm not an opportunist. I'm not like, okay, need a body. Who am I going to jump into? No, not at all. From my vantage point as Aurora, as an extra dimensional galactic citizen, I experienced and perceived great injustices and great perturbations of the time field, and the impending increased perturbations And I saw what was happening in the death of the previous occupant of this body and saw the unfairnesses of it and chose to intervene and to act as part of my personal motivation to rectify the time field. Spontaneously invented the flying rainbow lasagna and came into this body, not just to have a body for being on vacation's sake, not just to have a body to exploit the life of someone, what it is like to be alive here, but in the sense of taking ownership and responsibility for cosmic real estate, which is the organic multicellular body with a particular genetic code from the driver's seat, that I could then be justified in taking certain actions and in doing certain things. That it's not the same. Like if you don't live in France, you don't vote in French elections. If you live up here, you have an influence up here. And if you live over here in a body and you go to the store and you buy bananas and coffee and toilet paper, then you influence that level over there. That's why I'm here. I am here because I needed to be a first person experiencer in order to have this level of impact. And the level of impact that I'm having here's big, because I'm not necessarily about the fighting with projectile weapons, but I am here to fight, because I didn't want you to watch my class from 10 years ago and say, everybody lay down. Aurora says not to fight. No, I want you to fight. And I want you to fight with the true light of Christ. And when I say light of Christ, I'm not even referring to an earthly religion. You can replace that word Christ with consciousness truth. I want you to fight with the light of pure consciousness truth. That is what I do with my artwork. That is what I do with my teachings and sharings. That is what I do with the structure of my body and my own DNA behavior, and also with my music. When I dance Flying Rainbow Lasagna with my DNA, and I do that reverberation, I am a beacon of this cosmic truth here in this spot. Being a bit of an inconvenience and a troublemaker to the ones who are antichrist, who want to keep you in a state of confusion and lack of organization and lack of information. Again, some of the most empowering things that can happen is for you to simply know what is the truth of your context. You are not sitting on a bench waiting for a stick of gum, being offered a stick of gum, waiting for a bus. You are not sinners who have been justly imprisoned by some kind of a sanctioned, legal framework. No, you are prisoners of war. To understand, prisoners of war can be perfectly good people that had their villages effing invaded by harmful, powerful, gun-carrying species from another place, that they have a type of, like, what's the difference between the people that came from from Northern Europe and invaded North America or Mesoamerica? What's the difference? They had guns. That's the difference. They had guns. What is the difference on this planet? They have a type of DNA influencing technology that is similar to a gun that empowers them. They can influence DNA, they can influence time, they can influence your mind, they can do stuff to you using their technology. And also all of their space suits, clank metal space suits, I want to call it their space crap, their space crapola, it all runs on the distortion technology of distorted DNA. It's 100% criminal equipment. So there's also no way, as Charlie B and I have talked about, for any kind of soi-disant, self-proclaimed galactic federation to say, we're using this completely criminal, illegal, on a profound level technology to somehow patrol and enforce cosmic law. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. The fabric of reality itself is insulted and destabilized by these types of ships that use distorted genetic hardware, for lack of a better word, that just flying around in them is a wrongness. You can't be like, we're going to go around enforcing rightness by flying around in a wrongness. Like, you can't do that. You can't do it. It's a sad, unfunny, farcical joke that unfortunately most humans are not able to perceive and not laugh at, because of the spraying of the stuff that harms your pineal gland. And it doesn't just harm your pineal gland and your eyes, It's also been affecting your DNA. This big, giant time DNA experiment and many, many things that are unfair here on this planet right now that are totally uncondoned by the larger galactic society, that are totally illegal within the larger cosmic laws, network of laws known as universal or cosmic law. Or what's universal and cosmic law? I say many times, it is similar to the sense of like the laws of physics, where technically you actually don't need a law enforcement agency. Like, I'm part of the gravity, where's my badge? My badge, I'm part of the gravity enforcement agency. You know, like I whip it out, like, you better fall. Don't float there, I'm part of gravity enforcement, get down. That is not what cosmic laws are like. Cosmic laws are very much self-enforcing in a pristine system. In a pristine system, all of these laws are kind of like the laws of math. And they also have, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Do you guys remember this? Aurora, like you're ranting and now you're giving us math. That's it. I'm getting out of here. I'm jumping out the window. Don't jump out the window. So this is called order of operations. When you take math, it is, the acronym is please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. This has to do with parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. What is the order within which you should solve an equation? And sometimes these go around on the internet to see who's right and who's wrong. And it has to do with order of operations. This is just like cosmic law. You have cosmic laws exist in a hierarchy, basic law, then another law on top of there, and then another law on top of there. You're like, okay, Aurora, should I enforce this cosmic law first, or this one first, or this one first? And the answer is first the foundation, then the other ones on top. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So yeah, there's a very clear orderliness to the cosmos, and that this has to do with cause and effect, causality. And when I talk about causality, we're also talking about time, nonlinear time and linear time and parallel realities time. This thing over here happens because this thing over here makes it happen. Dominoes fall, events interpenetrate and intertwine and refer to and reflect off of each other. This is the fabric of reality upheld by cosmic law. And one of the basic cosmic laws is what you send out comes back to you. This is meant to be an instantaneous experience. So anyone that's like, I feel like being violent, I want to punch someone else in the face, I'm going to punch someone else in the face, it should be instantaneously reflected back to you. You punch yourself in the face. And you're like, duh, that doesn't feel good. I'm going to stop. Or maybe I'm self-destructive. I will do it again and again and again, in which case you are in a free will world, which is another basis of cosmic law, and you are free to self-destruct and to harm yourself in that way. But right now what's happening is a subversion of cosmic law where you actually have victims. Because if you have true cosmic law, you have no victims. Just like, yep, that a-hole over there wanted to punch someone else, he punched himself in the face, and then he did it again, and he punched himself until he had no more face and he stopped being in existence. Like, that is cosmic law being enforced. And you don't have to have the cosmic law brigade jump out and say, here's our badges, we're here to enforce. In a pristine system. We haven't had a pristine system for a very long amount of time due to the unwacky hijinks of the technology using space races that basically use time-bending technology to subvert the consequences and avoid the consequences that they would otherwise experience, which those consequences, although they run from them, fleeing in fear, consequences, consequences, that's where actual learning happens. You get it? Actual learning happens when you have consequences. I did a thing, and a thing happened. I guess I learned. So it is an insane Jenga tower of an AI when it doesn't learn. It's like, oh, I do a thing, I refuse to learn from it. I'm not going to take those consequences, and I'm going to do the thing again and again and again. And this is literally the definition of what is insanity: doing the same thing again and again and again, and of course, expecting different results. Wait, let me drink some of my wonderful electrolyte water here. I am part of cosmic law enforcement because we are in a non-pristine system. I am here on a mission as a walk-in, as there are many in self-recognition walk-ins who are here, self-described people who are walk-ins who are on a mission. Not all of us have the same mission, but what we have in commonality, and not all of us take the same route to get in here, what we have in commonality is a sense of purpose and a sense of devotion to something that is greater than ourselves, merely not coming here merely for self-serving or recreational purposes, but coming in order to heal or add to the cosmic fabric of events and to express divine intelligence and divine willpower. That really, who is my boss? Like, my boss is God. Like, what am I doing here? Do I have, like, you know, whatever, like a police boss that I refer to? No, actually, God is the police boss that says you have to go down there and do something. And I follow it because it's like following my heart. And I took on the assignment, and I don't use projectile weapons, as you can tell. What do I use? I use truth. I use information. Everything about who I am is hoping to express to you my profound integrity, meaning that my heart matches my mouth. I say what I feel. I speak the truth, and also my cosmic connection that gives me real access to the higher dimensional calculative powers of a supercomputer, where I can share with you what is truth on a very, very high abstract level. Everybody's got a different gig down here. That is my gig. And I'm here to quote unquote fight, or let's say positively, enter the fray, enter the struggle here for the purposes of rectification by bringing in a huge new amount of truth. That's what I mean when I say I hop out to get groceries. The groceries are truth. They're not avocados. It's truthfulness. I get truth, and truth must be relevant to the present contextual moment. So if there's something that is out of balance in the events of the cosmos right now, I hop out and I hop back in, and I get the information that is needed for the rectification of those out of balance events in the moment now. What is the medicine, or what is the healing, or what is the sets of ideas, or what do you do or say, or how do you influence reality for what is needed right now? And it's a custom tailored response. It's not something that is preset. So you couldn't come here and be like, okay, here's my manual so that I will know what to do at every moment. And it's ever shifting. And that's why it's like cosmic jazz, and you have to keep on recalibrating. You send something out, and there are mild incremental improvements. This is what my dance is. This is what I do with my genetic code, with my physicality structure, with my body. And this is what I invite other people to also learn about, because it gets stronger. The impulse for rectification gets stronger the more nodes, points, or epicenters of this rectification dance that we have going on. And yeah, so I love with profound gratitude all of the people that have been learning about flying rainbow lasagna from me and learning how to embody it in their own DNA, because they are also fixing and healing their own bodies, fixing and healing their own life trajectories, radiating outward that level of cosmic truth into their immediate vicinity. And then we have a much, much larger, faster, deeper reaching rectification effort than if it was just me. So I accept, invite, and celebrate everybody who wants to be a part of this, because that is what we do, making things right. And how do you make things right? Again, not with projectile weapons. None of what I teach has anything at all to do with, I call it Dwayne Hublering, that book Breakfast of Champions from Kurt Vonnegut. Be like, you know, like getting your GUN and, you know, whatever, using it in order to blast people away. That is not how you fix things. That is just flat out, that's not how you fix things. But nor shall you be an endless suffering victim, which is again my mild criticism of the theology of Christianity, which requires self-professed Christians to consistently be violenced and then offer immediate forgiveness. And this is a system that can be horribly abused when you are not dealing with multicellular creatures, and you're also dealing with something that has no conscience. Again, should hit rock bottom of conscience and be like, I feel like SHIT, I'm a bad person. I should stop eating other people and raping them and raping babies. Sorry to go that dark. It's dark. They get high on your ascension stash. They're up here. They're like, I don't feel bad about any of that stuff. This is my SpongeBob face, and I'm going to keep on snorting your ascension energy so that I don't feel any amount any twinge from my conscience. And that means I'll keep on punching you in the face. And if you're quote unquote a good Christian, according to the rules of a very twisted philosophy, then you will allow it. And this guy is supposed to learn and grow and change from it, never learns and grows and changes. That is against cosmic law. And that in out of balance state would be considered that you would be in consent of your own victimhood. And I don't want to teach you to be in consent to your own victimhood. And I don't want you to, I don't want to pry you away from your deeply held religious beliefs either. What I want is for you to reach the empowerment stages of what it is to have an active Christ chakra inside of yourself, and to recognize here's another aspect of cosmic law. If you see or sense something that is going on that is unfair, that is unjust, like you're not only beholden to yourself in your life. Part of the balance of responsibilities, you have responsibility to yourself versus responsibility to community or ecosystem. If someone is running at you with a weapon, yes, you are beholden and responsible to yourself to protect yourself. That is one of the basic cosmic laws and a premise here. You must protect yourself. You can't just be like, oh, well, I could have stopped that bullet or that knife, but I didn't. I let that other guy kill me. You're supposed to stop yourself from being killed. What about if you perceive violences and harm to another who are either weaker than you or are incapacitated in some way? Something like a child who is vulnerable, developmentally disabled person who is vulnerable or might not comprehend the situation, a person who has been drugged, a person who's been planetarily roofied. Do you have a responsibility to do something when you see violence heading towards them? The answer is yes. Absolutely yes. This is called responsible galactic citizenship. And this does relate to my lesson of 10 years ago in terms of loving all aspects of self. I wrote that from the perspective of being a responsible galactic citizen. And I wrote in there that none of this is a justification of the violences that other space races or species or individuals might perpetrate. But here's also what I wrote about that when you're embodying and when you are embodying and living in unconditional love, the other person is an aspect of self. They're an externalized being and an example of one of your own inner aspects. And then you have to solve conflicts through love, which is the universal solvent. And love is what resolves the dynamic emotional tension between conflicted individuals. That's what I wrote from 10 years ago. Hear that under this context of someone who has roofied your whole planet with chemtrails, is consistently punching you in the Christ chakra, getting high on your ascension stash, feels absolutely zero amount of conscience or wrongness in what they are doing, and literally thinks that they have a justified contract and agreement and consent from you to continue doing so. That if you did what is considered love, which is like, I love you, like I hug you, like you're just going to get punched in the face forever. And I really want you to know that the great teacher of 2000 years ago did not come here with the intention of being able to be used, that their life and death would be used as the justification for your own diminishment or victimization or being the subject of violence without protecting and defending you. Me coming here with this difficult rant today is me protecting you by giving you the true light, the true information about your situation and your planetary circumstance. I want you to know what is really going on, and then you can really make your own choices. Everything about who I am as Aurora on every level, here and on a galactic level, is meant to uphold and elevate the concept of freedom and personal responsibility. It's not freedom if you don't know. You have to know what's going on in order to make your choices in freedom. And then it is your own responsibility when you make those choices in freedom. If you didn't know the things that I am telling you now, you could not be free to really make your choices. You must choose in free will. And what you choose in free will is your own responsibility. How you respond. So you can watch this video and be like, wow, Aurora just laid a heavy trip on me and told me all these different things. How do I respond? That is what is going on here. I don't tell you what to do. I don't tell you, as a result, you should do blah, blah, blah. And, you should be this way, or you should believe this or don't believe this. I actually don't do that. What I do is give you the information as accurately as I positively can, and then remind you of your own truthful state of being a free will citizen of the galaxy, that you are moving into levels of personal responsibility. And then it is your choice about how you respond to this situation. And of course, I will always give you tools, because I'm not just going to be like, world's a pile of crap, go deal with it. I'm never going to do that. I always tell you, I'm going to teach you about bucket and a mop. So Pedro already wrote about one thing here in the chat, the Merkaba. Merkaba is literally a symbol of cosmic law. These guys that are here perpetrating their own crimes under the flawed rubric of justifying it by saying that it's their law. It's our law, don't you know? Like, get with the program, kid. Like, it's our law. They hate the Merkaba. Do you know why? Because it is incredibly effective. Just understand that. And I forgot to put that in. Not forgot, but overlooked it during the moments of recording. When I recorded about advanced Merkaba a couple of weeks ago. I finished that recording and I was going over my work, and I was like, something, I really should have emphasized much, much more how much Merkaba is a tool for freedom, is a tool for cosmic justice, because literally that force field and protective intentions that you place around you when you envision the star tetrahedron, which is what the Merkaba is, that creates you as a conduit or an enforcer of cosmic law in your own life experience and in your own direct vicinity. And again, we think about cosmic law enforcement and law enforcement like a deputy, like a posse who is deputized and get like a bandolier and, a badge and these symbols of authority that maybe are about violence. Again, I want to make it very clear, this is not necessarily about physical violence in terms of enforcement. In the Wild West, it was about physical violence in terms of enforcement, a very barbarian approach. This is thought enforcement. Do you understand trajectories through time, being able to think your own thoughts, feel your own feelings? How about influencing others? Yes, I am influencing you right now. Thank you for attenuating to my, sharing here, to my video. Thank you for attenuating to my sharing and allowing me to influence you with my words. Truly, thank you for that. And I influence the world even when I'm sitting in my bed in the morning at 4:30 because the dog barked and woke me up, and I'm thinking my thoughts, and my thoughts are emanating out, and I am influencing the world even if I never made a video about it. And we influence the world also with our prayer. Prayer is so powerful, so good, so worthy, so appropriate. Intercessionary prayer, where you call to your sense God, or your sense of self that is the highest divine power, and say, I see something that is not right. I see something that is unjust. You need to know about this. Kind of like call the cosmic complaints department. Everything is not okay. That is appropriate. And praying also, like if something is not okay in someone's life, praying for someone to be able to receive the resources or the healing that they need. Yes, all totally appropriate. These are ways that you affect reality with your mind. And, the antithesis of some of these things would be that I do not condone when people wish harm upon others, which is what would be considered, dark magic, and cursing other people, and intentionally sending out negative thought forms towards them. This is what the Merkaba protects you from. You get it? They hate the Merkaba because under their illegal legal system, they're like, oh, I'm sending out my negative thought forms and my curses and blah, blah, blah. And you have your Merkaba up. And what that really means is return to sender. Return to sender. You're actually supposed to be punching yourself in the face. You're not supposed to be punching anyone else in the face. And they're like, I dropped my monocle. I find you highly inconvenient. Stop using that Merkaba. And I'm like, oh, Merkaba. Yes. So I didn't emphasize that enough in my sharing of several weeks ago. Thank you for allowing me to emphasize it here. The Merkaba is a very powerful and totally appropriate tool for yourselves as enforcers and experiencers of true cosmic law, to be able to really be within those levels of personal responsibility and circulating through those levels of galactic civilization, where others also feel and enforce and conform to those levels of personal responsibility. So I'm going to get through questions, and I'm just going to go through my notes just a little bit, because again, never a justification as to like, okay, like, why do these demons or prudies exist? Blah, blah, blah. They did a bunch of time experiments, blah, blah, blah. This is all synopsis from lesson 18. And I have a whole 6-hour long mini course marathon if you want to jump into it, of galactic history. But they got smeared on the edge of time, and they can't eat physical food like we eat physical food. So they eat you, a la the descriptions from Don Juan and Carlos Castaneda, active side of infinity, and humans in their humaneros, like people keep chickens in chicken coops, okay? Been kept in a human farm to be farmed for misery. It's apt allegory, but don't be disempowered by this, because actually you once you start to recognize that you've been kept as food, then you definitely get to make choices about whether you consent to that. So do you see what I'm talking about? Like, if you don't know, if you can't know, then they will presume consent. If you are told about what is happening and you can then revoke your consent, then everything changes. But then here's what often happens. It's like, oh, wait, are you revoking your consent? Are you acting within this unjust framework of unjust laws and starting to work the system to your favor? I forgot to tell you, I don't effing listen to the system. It's a war. I punch it in the face anyway, which is where we're at right now. Okay, you got it? So this is what I wanted to impart to you, the sense that, you know, in a war, like if this were whatever, World War II, and a tank were driving by, you wouldn't be like, call the police. That tank was going 72 in a 55 zone. We're going to arrest the tank driver. You don't do that. It's totally inappropriate. The activities of war far supersede the enforcement of ordinary law. And I'm not talking about cosmic law, but their lower level laws that have justified the imprisonment of humanity genetically for a very long amount of time, and more recent chemtrail spraying, lollipop agenda, and other keeping other efforts to keep you as a consciousness peasant are all justified under their unjust legal system. As soon as you start to be like, I'm a peasant, I'm reading books, I got book learning, now I know that what's going on in your unjust system, and I'm using it and turning it against you, they're like, oh, we forgot to tell you, we're not following laws. Like, we're just invading your effing planet. This is a war, and that you're very, very stupid if you think that you're gonna bring a lawsuit against me, the tank driver, and say you were driving too fast and therefore you deserve to have a fine of whatever, $67, and your driver's license will be revoked for 2 weeks. That's not effective. Do you understand? The rules of war far supersede lower level, let's call them, they're not mundane, but like lower level laws of how a society is structured. We're at the level of war. That's what I really want to impart to you. It is spiritual war. It is cosmic war. I'm telling you that the things that they do are not, they are, the things that they do that are wrong on the level of cosmic law, and are so profoundly wrong that they imperil the existence of God, the existence of time itself, and the entirety of the time field connected to DNA, and connect to all light, Christ consciousness everywhere. Big, big, big stuff. These guys justify what they are doing, loosely, flimsily justify it under the very, very small sub-umbrella of their own unjust laws, which they're in conflict with themselves and do not enforce all the time. And then if you decide to become your own lawyer, like a prisoner who on the bookmobile gets law books brought to your jail cell, and you're going to read the law books and you're going to learn and you're going to write petitions. You're going to get yourself out of jail. They're laughing till tears come out of their eyes. They're like, that stupid knee slapping, laughing. That prisoner thinks that we're going to hear their petition. And then they're like, no, you know something, you're not imprisoned because it's a justice within our legal system. You're imprisoned because it's a war and you are prisoners of war. And that is what is going on. And that is very bleak. The Merkabah is a very, very effective tool that you can use in order to begin to be not only protected, but empowered on a cosmic level, superseding their small, corrupt crap umbrella that they've had over this planet for a long amount of time, and really moving into your true levels of empowerment. And I'm going to get to your wonderful questions. Also, anything that involves really connecting to the true master teacher inside, because I really, far from prying you away from Jesus Christ, your own belief, your own faith, the Christian religion, or anything like that, I want you to get even closer to Christ, even closer to Christ. I want you to absolutely cultivate this amazing capacity that you have to be connected to this larger network of consciousness, to the master teacher that has been here, to the love that is offered to you through that master teacher, and to the entire network of Christ. Because I also want you to know about this. One of my mild criticisms of Christianity is it's Christ's way or the highway. There's only one, and you better choose the right one. And the sense of some kind of competition, like, well, what about if I chant Hare Krishna? Am I somehow like cheating on Jesus if I chant Hare Krishna? And the answer is no. You are not cheating on Jesus Christ or betraying your profound love for Jesus Christ if you also show devotions to Lord Krishna. Krishna is also Christ. What about if you are connecting to, you know, some other Christ, Daganawida? What if you are connecting to some other great avatar experiencer of Christ, and that you find them to be a wonderful guide and helper to you and protector to you in your life? Are you insulting Jesus Christ? Do you think Jesus Christ would be like this? I thought I was going to help you out, but I saw you stepping out with Daganawida, and no, I'm just going to let you burn in hell. That's it. And kind of like flounce on out. No, of course not. I've misportrayed it in the most disingenuous, unattractive way. That would be the most unattractive of cosmic citizens to ever do anything like that. And also, let me tell you this really, really, really deeply here. Christs are not in competition with one another. That's it. Christ is a family of consciousness. Where's my crystal? Christ is a family of consciousness. This crystalline structure is held together by many, many, many molecules, all of whom stand shoulder to shoulder and hold each other up and transmit light to one another. That is what the network of Christ is. So Jesus Christ, very, very special and unique teacher that is here to help and guide people, would never be in competition with or insulted by your love or devotion or learning from a different master. Like, that's it. I saw you read that book about that other ascended master. I'm letting it burn in hell, burn in hell. I'm being facetious and silly, but I want to, because I want you to know that Jesus Christ has such profound, blazing love, compassion, and devotion to you, would never abandon you for such a silly, flimsy, nonsensical reason, and is literally always trying to help people, even if they're like, get away from me, get it, like drowning people. They're kind of like, blah, 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 I don't know what I'm doing. He's still like, no, I'm still going to try to help you anyway. Do you understand? Would never abandon you, would never reject you for exploring some other form of Christ connection other than him. And so again, I'm being facetious, but mildly critical of the teachings of the church itself, but I never want to diminish a person's personal faith. So please take it from the loving direction that I'm, coming from here. And please also understand that, yes, that Christ's love is infinite. Christ is consciousness. Christ is an infinite network of consciousness. It loves you infinitely. It cares about you infinitely. It will never let you falter, and it will never abandon you and say, that's it, you're not good enough, which is another one of those flawed basic contexts and premises that are inborn, baked into the theology of the Christian church, a sense of your unworthiness. Like you're not worthy and you're going to have to prove it and you're not good enough to get into heaven. And I come here with just a completely different basic postural stance to remind you, like, you are worthy. You are worthy and you are great and you are good. And the whole thing of your sinful nature. Your sinful nature is not actually you. Your sinful nature is the reptilian tendency that was programmed into you, that took you away from being a light eater, that has been perpetrated upon you. And those same perpetrators and above, so there's a whole hierarchy of perpetrators, has come here now to kind of overtly take over. And so there's something that was seeds that were planted for a long, long time ago. They're like, yep, we are returning to be able to be here very overtly. So wait, I have lots more stuff in my notes, but I don't want to go by too fast because I know that there's lots of beautiful questions and comments here. Let me do this. Let me go through, like I'm scrolling and scrolling. There's so many things to talk about here. Okay. Joanne says, oh, thank you so much. Everyone was cheering me on. They're like, rant as much as you need. Yes. Thank you. Rant received. Thank you so much. Joanne says, it's my personal belief that these negative entities created holy books that contradict each other, but each book says it's the only way, which caused the first great human divide. Very, very perceptive and very apt, Joanne. It's very truthful. The negative entities definitely influenced the writing of the original Bible, the editing of the original Bible, the writing and editing of the New Testament, which is where we hear the stories about Jesus Christ, and has also, these negative entities heavily influenced religious thought structure, religious dogma, and the behavioral control mechanisms that emanate from religion around the world. Judeo-Christian behavioral control mechanisms, Islam control mechanisms, and there's a ton of social control there, and it's worthy of tons of criticism, and even things from the area of India. Sorry, India, I'm going to criticize you too. Caste system as justified by the Hindu pantheon and by the sense of reincarnation, that it justifies the unjustifiable in the sense of people having a diminished existence that is seen to be the earned result of their karma of past lives. And I don't justify any of that either. So I'm an equal opportunity offender in terms of criticizing human organized religion here, even though, as you can tell, like, so I just criticized Hinduism and the caste system there, but I love Lord Krishna. All right. And I don't find a conflict in that, because in all of these things, like in the Bible, in the New Testament, what I tend to do is take the miracles, fish with bones, leave behind the bones. And the bones are all the other things that are severely questionable in terms of human behavioral control, justification of slavery, justification of racism, justification of male supremacy, homophobia, sexual violence, sexual dysfunction. There are so very many things that are worthy of criticism in the Bible. And then some of the things that were put forth as the recipe for being a good person were and remain cultural anachronisms, things that mattered in that time, place, but do not matter and do not have relevance and validity 5,700 years later. Again, the book, a recipe book for how to be a good person that are given to a bunch of nomadic goat and sheep herders in the Middle East 5,700 years ago do not necessarily translate directly to your experience as a Western post-industrialized person, living in North America. Very, very different lives, very, very different needs in terms of guidance for being a good person. And Joanne also says, I've cleared the perturbations or chemtrails from the skies the last few days. Good for you. The weather is beautiful, no clouds, and a wonderful bright sun. Again, I recognize, thank you for the work that you've done. There is a consciousness connection of observership between what is emitted in the sky, their sustenance in the sky, and their sustenance and maintenance in the body. And there is a huge amount of empowerment there. When you get to very, very high levels of empowerment teachings, you recognize you are God, you are in a co-creative partnership with God, the generative force, and through observership, you are making these things happen. That is like what I write about in my notes and in the original recording from 10 years ago, where I say, you know something, you are right now a refracted ray of the primary ray of consciousness. That is, you are your own particular unique flavor, and you are here for consciousness exploration purposes, and all these other characteristics are also here as pieces of God that are bouncing around, creating reality and bouncing off of each other and experience, and of course experiencing their lives also. And that, of course, when there is the frisson and there's conflict, that both parties are meant to learn and elevate from it. This is very idealistic in an ideal world and in the recognition of unity consciousness. And again, it's been a huge education to me, not only the embodied humans that are here that are not exemplifying unity consciousness, but the disembodied non-humans that are not here. They're technically in a state of non-existence that are influencing, but they are not, they're influencing reality and influencing life, but they're not a part of unity consciousness unless they go to entropy. Like good, bad things go to entropy. I wanted to say good, evil particles. Good, evil things go to entropy. If you really take responsibility as God, then you really do say, you know something, I am generating and externalizing these negative thought entities. And then you know what the next step is? I unmake them. So here is kind of some effective information from a self-proclaimed prison lawyer to all of you prisoners here, because again, I'm not just here to set myself free. I'm literally here to set you free and also destroy the entire system of imprisonment, which I totally invalidate. Again, not going to do what is personally convenient for me. Like, hooray, I'm free. Like, see ya, suckers. And also, no offense to Jesus Christ and the teachings that he has ransomed, you know, the believers to get out. No offense to that at all. But I feel that it is not acceptable, not enough to just save like a handful. Like I was able to get a handful out of the drowning, you know, situation, but then a lot of these good innocent people drowned as well. Not acceptable to me on that. Like I'm like, no, we need to have the planetary ascension. We need to have the complete supersession of these basically ancient artificial intelligence situations, circumstances that have been placed not only on this planet, but on many, many planets. Because if you do not really fix and rectify things, guess what? It just squashes out into the next dimension. Squashing out, I know, not a very serious term, but this has already happened many, many, many times. Many, many, many times there has been a partial solution. Good, hooray, a partial victory. Let's celebrate, you know, a partial celebration with a glass of champagne. And then let's all go into our existence, going into the next existence. And then it's like, that crap again. You get it? Like, unless you actually resolve the things that need to be resolved, it's that, oh no, that crap again. You know what? Someone is coming in. Let's all just take a brief break. Cheeky, come on over, girl. Come on over. We need this right now. Cheeky is the most amazing comic relief, spiritual uplift, emotional battery pack that we need when we're on the journey. Thank you very much for being with our class, Cheeky. Cheeky, because it is such a gross, rainy, cold day, was sleeping in bed and sleeping on like a little heated electric blanket or something like that. She's keeping warm down there. So we're very honored that she decided to come into here, get chilly and come into here with us. So yes, please, everyone, hug your dogs and cats and loved ones. Observership, relation to chemtrails, relation to the stuff that's inside of you. Because what they're also trying to be like the bully. What do bullies do? They say, stop punching yourself in the face, stop punching yourself in the face. So what they try to do, these, you know, overlords, they're like, stop manifesting chemtrails in your blood. Stop manifesting chemtrails in your blood. Stop manifesting chemtrails in your blood. And like, you know something? That's actually a truism. But you know what you also need to do is clear out your pineal gland, which is your reality manifestation mechanism. You need to be capacitated to be able to do that level of self-healing and self-clearing. Do you understand? So I use all sorts of different tools. What a great moment for me to be able to say this, to be able to clear chemtrail crapola out from my house and also out from my personal house, from my body. So I use things like chlorine dioxide, zeolite, methylene blue in conjunction with liposomal vitamin C, both orally and topically, raw cannabis juice, activated cannabis and CBD, turmeric, What are some other good things that I use? I've started, a friend, beautiful friend, got me a whole body like vibrating plate, like you get on top of it and it does this kind of like fast vibration. So vibration therapy, plasma wand, red infrared light therapies, all of these things I have found help to break up and detox the body from the nanocrapola. And I use those things, those are physical things that I find help give me enough inner momentum so I get a running jump start that I can then use my actual pineal gland Christ connection for these inner clearings. Yes, when you get to a certain level of inner capacitation, you're like, I don't need some kind of external hardware that plugs into the wall. Like, I'm just clearing I'm clearing that crap out. Clear it out now. Good. I want you to. Oh, and around my house, I have organites. I didn't tell you enough about that. Organites, crystals around my house. I use an ozonator almost all the time. I ozonate my water and my water filter. And I had this wonderful electrostatic air clearer that also works very well on just clearing out a room, like from the nanocrapola. Because of course, once you go outside, you're going to get it, but you minimize your toxic load. All these different ways to minimize your toxic load so you can clear stuff out. And guess what? According to my definition, that would be being a good Christian. Clearing out the Antichrist hardware from your body helps you to be a good Christian. Baths, Epsom salt baths with zeolite also really help too. I told you zeolite clay, I drink it a lot. Spiritual work that can help you to purge is also very big. And part of that spiritual work is coming to levels of profound self-love and profound love of the cosmos, which in its best sense, watch my lessons from 10 years ago and go into that state of cosmic love. The true teaching is that when you are in a state of cosmic love, you become non-chompable by these little parasite monsters, non-chompable. But it can be very challenging to get up to that level. That's like saying, like flame on, I'm on, Christ light is on. And it's like, they cannot eat me. That is great. But you know something, sometimes it can be a challenge to maintain that. And what they do sometimes is take that highly elevated love and above frequency, and they pee and poop all over it and diminish it until it is a distorted frequency that they can then consume. And they do this through a series of, there's synthetic telepathy. That's a big thing over the past several years. Synthetic telepathy. You're supposed to have natural Christ telepathy. I get a ton of poop from synthetic telepathy. It's like, wow, it's garbage. It's pineal gland garbage. Voices that aren't supposed to be there, thoughts that aren't supposed to be there, imagery that's not supposed to be there, implanted dreams that aren't supposed to be there. That's all anti-Christ. That is non-physical, but it's coming in through hardware, software programs that are anti-Christ. They are false light. We live in a world of false light right now. And it's essential for you to do inner hygiene beyond the things that I told you about with substances and tools to clear your physical body and clear your mind with mind hygiene so that you get that crap out. And I do that every morning when I wake up. I'm like, what was I just dreaming about? I'm like, mind hygiene, that's crap, that's crap. And then I'm like, wow, scrub the toilet, scrub the toilet. It can be very exhausting. So I'm here with you in solidarity. Like, yeah, it's exhausting to scrub the toilet so much. I told you a couple of months ago about my protocol that I had been learning, removal of negative thought entities. And I really felt like it gave me some inner peace, but also I was constantly scrubbing the inner toilet. At a certain point, my pineal gland was like, this is boring and there's an endless amount of shit. And I keep on having to scrub up the shit. And then I had to change up my program, change up my ways of doing things. Yes. Okay, sorry, distractions coming in. Sorry about that. It's good, Pedro. Pedro says, now that I can chat, I'm a little confused. I've been applying the unconditional love. I accept the pooties, but I don't let them provoke me to be angry when things don't go well or get negative thoughts or something, if something begins to hurt. And I make that anger into more energy to my Merkabahs and Ephrael. So should I get a little angry at them? Thank you so much, Pedro. Pedro, long-time student, and I really appreciate your questing, and let me lend clarity to this because your practice is very valid. The practice of not being food for them. They try to agitate you or provoke you. Definitely, it is best not to talk to them directly. Don't have long protracted conversations with demons, or give them your emotional energy in terms of anger, frustration, all these other things. Putting up merkabahs and shields is very effective. And also I did that practice quite a lot, quite extensively. And over the past several years, I found I had to up my game. I had to find a way to respond to them, but that does not mean talking back to them. So being a responsive galactic individual means, and this is like, I would really say this, lift as much weight as you can. If you can put up a shield, put up a shield. If you can, kind of like have a strong immune system, do that. What I would say is don't engage with them in terms of having a back and forth. Be like, hi, I see you're a demon. Let's have a whole conversation. Can't do that, because then they just take a lot of energy from you, and they know that they're demons, and they know that they are evil, or that they are doing something wrong. They wear enormous cloaks of justification to hide that from you, but they know it. It's like someone who wears false eyelashes. Like, they know they don't have long real eyelashes. They're putting on the false eyelashes for your sake. They are not fooling themselves. They are there to fool you. So these demons put on enormous cloaks of justification to fool you and others, that you will then go through a labyrinthine series of their own self-explanations, which are quite narcissistic, including, it ain't my fault, heal me. But I didn't get a chance to make this point. Since 2001, they have had the opportunity to go to entropy. Up until that point, they might have been able to say, it's not my fault. I have to be a parasite and eat other people's sexual energy and rape and mutilate and destroy. Don't blame me. Like, don't hate me. And the answer is, since 2001, you've had another option, and we're always talking about it. And it is a thought form at large that you can embody. Divest yourself of energy right now. Stop using energy. Go to entropy. Do what good demons do. And that would be the proper thing for them to do. But they don't. They portray themselves as poor, piteous victims themselves. And then in all of their conversations, they might also be like, understand me, love me, heal me. And that also is a totally inappropriate dynamic. Like, the problem with engaging with them directly is that they will create a dynamic where they are in charge, and then you're always going to have to be responding to them. So don't let them create a dynamic where they're in charge. Don't have to be responding to them, but respond to the situation and the circumstance. Everything that I teach about, that is the most effective way to do that. Connect to the inner Christ. The inner Christ will guide you about what to do and say and think in every moment, to be able to know how to respond to the situation effectively, even without talking to a demon directly. So do not go into denialism. Don't be like, la, 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 nothing is happening. There are no demons here, or our planet is not being invaded, or we're not being sprayed by horrible bioweapons, or people around me haven't been zombified by bioweapons, blah, 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 lollipops. It is essential to recognize the truth of your situation. Don't go into despair. Find the tools for empowerment that you can find, and your own inner divine connection is part of that. Let's say it's a foggy day, because I get a lot of divine information from the sun. What about when it's a foggy day? What about when I can't literally see or make that connection to light? It is totally acceptable to pray, to look to holy writings, to look to videos, things that are inspirations. Totally appropriate to get your inspirations. You can get inspired by John Coltrane and Jimi Hendrix. You can get inspired by reading a holy book. Literally, you can be like, all right, I need some guidance, like turn to page, whatever, read what's there, see if there's something for you there. These are all fair things to do. And I do all of these things when it's foggy and when I'm feeling in confusion. I do all of these things. Then on a sunny day, I try to get as much inner clarity as I possibly can that tells me, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And what really helps me is the contextualization of my journey, because I need to know, like, why am I imprisoned here? Why am I limited here? Because part of the bars on the cage of limitations are like, you can't even know and understand that you're limited, or why are they doing this to you? Why did this happen? So that's one of the great vulnerabilities. if it's like you find yourself stuck or imprisoned and you don't know why, and there's this erroneous presumption, oh, you're there because you did something wrong. No, actually, you didn't do anything wrong. I will tell you that probably most of the people that are watching my video and that, whatever, both live and in the archive, you're all the good guys. You are not here because you did something wrong. It actually offends me enormously that inhabitants of this planet think that they are somehow stuck here on a prison planet because you did something wrong. I don't think that you're stuck here because you did something wrong. I think you've been unjustly imprisoned. And also, I don't like the definition of having to make this a prison planet. And I don't think that is necessarily something that you consented to as a soul contract at another time. I think that all those are highly erroneous presumptions, and that what they all have one thing in common. There's a lot of blame the victim stuff that goes on. And it is one level of victimization to be either violated, a boundary is crossed, something is done to you against your consent, against your willpower. Sometimes it's sexual, sometimes it's spiritual or energetic. It's bad enough. But then to blame the victim and say, you deserved it. That's the worst. That's the worst piss and shit upon the victim. Not bad enough that it happened, but then also saying you deserved it, and to implant some kind of guilt. And this is what my criticism of the church, it implants some kind of guilt into vulnerable people who then in their torture say, just save me, do whatever, I'll do whatever I need to do. I will confess to whatever I need to confess to, get me out of torture, get me out of prison. That is not how you start a good relationship. I just want you to know that is called coercion and torture. And that's not how you really start a good relationship. So it's not supposed to be that you are just so unbelievably desperate that you're then maybe Christ will help me out. Like, Christ is absolutely already here, doesn't want you to be angry and desperate, doesn't want to start a relationship totally out of desperation on the wrong foot, is absolutely totally devoted to you, rails against the injustices. The Jesus that came here 2,000 years ago and did all those things was completely a political prisoner, died as a political prisoner, was against the regime, was against the empire, was against everything. So I'll also just tell you, spoiler alert, they're going to try to tell you, oh, BTW, by the way, Jehovah is a reptile. And oh, by the way, Jesus Christ portrays himself as, my father in heaven, I'm the son of God. My father in heaven is a reptile. Jesus was a reptile, blah, blah, blah. You've been worshiping a reptile the whole entire time. This is all false. Spoiler alert, so that you don't get fooled. Please do not get fooled. Sub-deities who might be reptilian or have a self-serving, egocentric personality state are not the true God. Jesus Christ proclaimed himself to be the Son of the true God. The sun in the sky is made out of pure light. You connect with that pure light, not any distortions or false light illusions that are subsidiary to that true light. The false light requires the true light as a type of ingredient to kind of, distort and change it. But no, if you worship, respect, or align with Christ, Jesus Christ, or Christ consciousness itself, does not mean that you are worshiping a reptile, not in any way. But Aurora, you said last week that my pineal gland was related to the reptile's light sensor that's on the top of its head. This is truthful. And you have a vestigial reptilian biological heritage, including your brainstem, but that's not all of who you are. You also are the mammalian emotional cortex and the human neocortex, and so much more, so many other subtle layers of your body beyond the basic, what you would call reptilian, staying alive, self-service, food and sex level of your being, that you're much, much, much more than that. And also, to say that food and sex is your sinful nature is not accurate, because food and sex are not inherently sinful. They are not, but that the way that they have been distorted and misportrayed and exploited, your need for food and sex have been exploited. Base chakra stuff, red chakra stuff is good stuff. Should not be thrown out the window as mere reptilian heritage, vestigial traces, get rid of it, which is what a lot of us more angelic people tend to do. Be like, I'm going to be a vegetarian vegan, not going to eat that much, just going to eat sunlight and be a breatharian, and often not sexually active or not very much enjoying the pleasures of the flesh. And I mean, no judgment on any of those things. it's a valid response to that chakra, that level of being that has been diminished. But that truly, when we reclaim that level of being, it is not an inherently flawed level. Eating and sex are not inherently evil. They are not inherently flawed, but they have been misportrayed and used as tools for exploitation. And it's not your sinful nature. I hope you're really getting me on this. Joanne, this is on the topic of the Galactic Federation. The Galactic Federation has failed. None of this is free will. I'm a witness and I'm sending information back to source. Thank you. Thank you for being a sacred witness here. And thank you for sending your own, I call it cosmic complaints to the Cosmic Complaint Department. Please know that all light is entangled. You as a collection of photons that are connected to the sun, the source, and all photons and light everywhere means all light everywhere knows what is happening in the light inside of you. What your body and your metabolism is doing, what you are experiencing as a light eater, what you are experiencing in terms of thought forms. All light everywhere knows whether you are being exploited, harmed, victimized, or punched in the face. All light everywhere knows what is happening here on this planet, and all light everywhere is not okay with this. I want you to know that, and I want you to know you have an enormous amount of assistance, guidance, leadership, and there are very genuine resolutions that are happening here in terms of real cosmic law being enforced, real rectification, real freedom. And again, when I talk about freedom, this is not, hey kid, I'm chomping the cigar, I'm free to punch you in the face. No, because that freedom must also be mitigated by the what you send out comes back to you, order of operations. Got it? So freedom happens in conjunction with the enforcement of these other cosmic laws that state that what you send out comes back to you. You are free to do what you want to do, and you are free to experience the consequences of doing what you want to do. You got it, guys. You got it, because God is really smart. God is hyper intelligent, and the system that has been created here is completely beautiful and perfect and well balanced. And you have not, mostly within your life experience, even really been able to feel what that perfect balanced system is. So I'm just here to tell you about it, and please remain faithful and go towards it and know that it is there. But you guys have been within a totally unjust, flawed imprisonment system for most of your lives, and probably for most of your concurrent and lives that radiate upward and outward to this point. Melissa says, reminds me of the Golden People in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Oh, I don't know that one. Remembering the Golden People's batteries and tech and cloning. Interesting. Yeah. So what you're referring to, there are many space races out there, some of whom are rather self-elevated, that use all of these types of things. Life extension technology, things that are kind of like cloning, or the capacity, like, we're going to put your soul in this glass, and then we're going to save it there for however many millions of years. And then when it's time to get you out of there, we'll get you out of there and give you a new body. And you'll be like, hooray, I'm back. You know, all of that stuff that if it requires technology, it is a sad sham or an impostorship of what we can do and what we are supposed to do with our natural divine technology. That you do make these amazing transits through time where you're gone, but you're back again in a new form. But it's not using technology. And all of these things, like the races that use them, they think that they're doing something that's very snazzy, but it's really not very impressive at all. And please remember that these technologies are all based in misery or energy out of place, the energy out of balance, and that there are huge repercussions to them. If you're like, yep, I'm getting high off of someone else's stash, that guy is going to be miserable. I feel moderately better about myself. That guy feels miserable. Of course, this is not me, but this is what these consciousness entities do. Joanne, and thank you for saying this and being this, says, I care immensely and know that I'm here to help bring more light. Sun gazing right now and sending everyone divine light. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you for your service. And may Joanne be a voice. Like, thank you to everyone who is here, who cares. I think really truthfully that if you're here in this generation, especially if you watch my videos, you are here intentionally on a purposeful mission. Your life matters, you care, and you're here in order to bring greater light, greater cosmic orderliness to this world. when I say light, I'm never talking about Luciferianism, because you can tell how they twist words and take things out of context. So light does not mean false light or limited light or only the light that is convenient. It really means divine light. And Joanna's agreeing, nobody consented. Nobody consented. And then this really goes down to the levels of galactic history and what happened at the fall of Atlantis. And I teach this all the time in lesson 18, like, you didn't fall, you were definitely dragged downward. Pedro says, thanks for the divine light. Enjoy the Merkaba I'm sending to all. I shouted that one out already, because that is exactly the right response. We put Merkabas up around this, and that is the beginning, but not the end. Like when you're a tiny child, you learn to brush your teeth. But I brushed my teeth this morning. Like I still do it, even though I learned, a very long time ago how to do this stuff. You put up the Merkaba. That is what we teach, beginners. But you don't ever stop. You keep doing it. Merkaba is incredibly important as a response to self-protection and protection of others. Yes, you can put a Merkaba around our whole entire planet, protecting our whole entire planet. I'm a planetary protector. It's part of why I'm here. And my protection is in freedom. I came here in freedom. I chose to come here in freedom. And I choose to continually create a doorway or hold the space for, sustain the opportunity for freedom for all of you. In case you haven't noticed, we are here having a conversation. We are not mind-controlled zombies. We who are in this room right now think with our own minds, speak with our own voices, have our own self-directed lives, and fight against and refuse AI influence and false god technology, which is basically all of this stuff, like the pseudo-intelligence, non-intelligence, anti-intelligence, antichrist, basically like praying to a god or obeisance to a god that is not the true God. And there are some that would do that. And there are some that would choose that path. And it is important to be able to be like, okay, you're free to choose that path, but also take the consequences. Take the consequences of choosing that path. I know a lot of questions are going to come up for people about like, what about the people that took the lollipops? What did they take that path? Let me do questions first, and then we'll see, because I'm sensing all of your telepathic. I'm anticipating your questions. I know what's happening. Joanne says the light dissolves shadows, time to shine. Definitely. And the light is the true light, not a false light. And the shadows that are here in existence are not shadows that I want anybody to be focusing all of their time and energy on, like learning from and healing, because I think that's the trap of narcissism. Oh, poor demon, let me learn from you and also heal you, and then we'll kumbaya. That's me in my facetious voice. No, please do not do that. Again, one of the false premises, contexts of being here is that you're in a schoolhouse for learning. Ostensibly, you're in a schoolhouse for learning. That's what it's supposed to be in huge exaggerated voice, but has really turned into a type of imprisonment. And the imprisonment is not like you're going to be here until you learn your lessons and you're imprisoned in a cosmic jail. No, it is simply prisoner of war. Well, there are very, very large power struggles that are taking place that your planet and your life and your consciousness and your journey are a part of. Lucy had to step out. You're very welcome. I'm happy that you were able to be here. I hope you catch the rest of the archive. Joanne says, I appreciate other divine avatars, but my faith is in God. Beautiful. It says the Bible has too many bones for me. I totally get it. Respect that very much. Yeah, and I'll just overtly state to you, like, I am not a biblical literalist, and I actually have huge qualms. I'm quite vocal about my qualms with the Bible, and don't encourage the consumption of every single idea or behavioral prescription that is in the Bible. And also, I love some parts of the Bible, but there are some parts of it that are very inspiring to me, mostly the part about miracles and mostly the part about wonderful uplift and really inspiring and heroic teachers. That's what I like about the Bible. Turmeric with black pepper is what Joanne uses every day to cleanse pineal gland. Turmeric, black pepper, holy basil, which is also known as tulsi. And I told you guys about ormus, ORMUS is really good. And also I do a lot with raw cannabis juice, CBD, and then also sometimes THC. I realized that after my teaching about Christ consciousness and pineal glands and things like that, I was like, I think that maybe I've done you a disservice. Like THC is an amazing augmenter of the pineal gland. And I have a whole teaching that's all about the human endocannabinoid system that's coming up. It's a level 1 teaching, but THC is amazing in terms of augmenting one's natural Christ perception. But I would also caution you, watch out for genetically modified weed. It's out there and it's in a lot of dispensary products and in a lot of dispensary vape cartridges that I think that is not going to augment your Christ consciousness. I think it is actually antichrist. So natural, non-genetically modified, organically grown, preferably sun-grown weed, preferably that you grow yourself and process into your own products, and then also taking them responsibly, which means like, don't use a chainsaw, perform brain surgery or some other very important stuff. You know what I mean? When you have taken activated THC. Partial victory. I've seen that movie. The villain comes back stronger in the next one. Best get rid of it all. Pedro says that. That's about what happens when you don't take care of stuff. You have a partial victory. It squashes out the sides and it goes into the next dimension. That's why we're here, guys. That's why we're here. We literally came from another dimension where we're like, hooray, partial victory. Drink my champagne and then diddle it, diddle it, diddle it. Oh no, not again. And then like, time for the next episode of the most unfun, unsatisfying, negative time loops ever. I'm getting a little silly and singing my show tunes because it's been a long presentation and I tend to get a little silly, but I never want to diminish the seriousness of everything else I'm talking about. Get rid of it all. Definitely. This is what we do in this particular time loop, is to be able to bring everything to its nexus, converging timelines, bring it to an actual conclusion, actually take care of all of these things. The police action, larger cosmic law enforcement, the war action that is happening on this planet right now that affects literally your body, your metabolism, who you wake up as every day and where you're going every day. That is part of this larger rectification. Your life matters and is profound and significant, and everything that happens to you is significant on a cosmic level. Joanne goes on to say, I believe I came here on purpose to help with the planetary ascension. Good for you, and thank you for being here. Now, she also asks, can the Pooties take our sexual energy if we release it? There's many things that the Pooties do because they control chakras on the body. So they definitely know how to harvest energy from all of the various chakras. They know how to harvest and diminish energy from the crown chakra, the Christ chakra, the throat chakra, the heart chakra, the intellectual and emotional chakras, and also the root chakra in terms of sexual energy. Pardon me. Sometimes they harvest energy non-consensually. They do different forms of sexual violations. Sometimes they harvest energy that are natural, positive orgasms. It's really important, I would say, orgasms with loving partners or with yourself. Direct your energy consciously so that something else doesn't come along and just yoink, misappropriate that, because orgasm is creative life force energy, more than just an explosion of pleasure. To use it responsibly means to use it for reality creation. Please put that energy into the best envisionments and encrypted or non-commodifiable by something else that would like to take it from you. If it is unguarded, like you leave a sandwich out or a bar of gold out, something else as an opportunist will come along and say, hey, that looks pretty effective or tasty. I think I'm going to take it and use it. So yes, just like putting a Merkaba around yourself or around any important project, putting a Merkaba around your sexual energy and around your orgasm activities is a very effective thing to do. And part of that Merkaba can be the intention that your creative energies may never be stolen, misappropriated, misdirected, used against you, used without your willpower and consent, used on projects or to create realities that you would never wish to be created. And you can keep that as like a little asterisk, like for every time that you're doing your orgasm activities, because that's a lot to do in the midst of things. Just be like, oh, asterisk, read the fine print. You know what I mean? You know what I mean, guys. Okay, so put the fine print on there. Trisha's got a direct message to me. Oh, it's not private. Good. So let me read this. No, I understand what you're talking about. Pedro says, oops, I should have said rectify it all, not get rid of it all. Totally. I understood what you were talking about because I'm telepathing with you. So just to clarify, Pedro was saying it is best to rectify all of these negative tendencies and negative personality characteristics, not just get rid of them, but really rectifying them. That's what all of this is about. We're bringing these stories to closure. We're bringing these negative entities to the place where they need to be. and everything gets to be at peace, and we get to be free, and they don't have to be suffering. And I haven't even ranted enough about, I don't believe in the validity of a Christian hell of eternal suffering. I do believe in the pathway to entropy as a place for these entities and reverberative consciousnesses to go to peace and not have to suffer. And I know that might be at odds with some people that are about like righteous judgment, but I actually believe in a merciful God that's like, I don't want pieces of myself to be suffering for forever. Make those things go into a quiet state and not be agitated anymore. So Trish's question says, Aurora, is the pure light the divine timeline, or is it there, the pure now, and catching up with it, we get beyond time and all timelines? Ooh, beautiful question. I think I understand what you're saying. So to paraphrase, is the pure light of Christ a divine timeline, like one series of events or reality structure, or is the capacitation of being part of Christ means that we move beyond time and all timelines? And I think answer is both and not either or. So I really do stick with my metaphor of going up to this pure light of Christ. That is like painting in an old-fashioned art school where you look at the model, and the model is the perfect version of reality that we get to glimpse with our inner vision, and then create a reality that is truthful or faithful to that original vision. And we do that in partnership with this beautiful Christ consciousness and capacitated by God, the divine presence. But I also think that at a certain point, we move beyond structures and we move beyond what is pre-created possibilities, like a symphony that is already created. We move into purely spontaneously generated, very joyful, extemporaneous event structures. And that's when we move beyond time and timelines, that you're in this moment of pure, complete novelty. That's what the singularity is. Anything can happen. Anything does happen. You are constantly making new music. You are a genius amidst geniuses, making new things happen all the time. So it's not like there's one perfect face of reality that you are painting in the art school, that there really is a constantly ever shifting set of features of the perfect divine reality, and that you're contributing that and you're a part of that. That's at a very, very high level of artistry. So I would say first practice capturing a likeliness, like a likelihood, a likeness. Let me say the right words. First practice capturing a likeness, a portrait of ideal reality, and then know that that brings you to these pure creative states where there's not one model of reality, but there's totality reality, which has its own beauty, which you are helping to express. It's a really beautiful, complex question. Thank you for your thoughts. Okay, good. Trish says we should synchronize our orgasm activities for divine climaxing. You know what I would say, like, just because it's so private and everything, maybe not practical for that to be able to be done, but on the higher dimensional levels, yes, may all of this beautiful, generative, orgasmic, creative energy really be leading towards freedom, the enforcement of cosmic law, which sustains and creates the context for freedom and divine connection and these real paradise states of experience. Bring that in. Joanne agrees, like it might be a little bit hard to coordinate all these things. So Pedro says, I'm in unrectified human consciousness. I make mistakes, but I'm in the process of rectifying myself. I cheer. Thank you for the authenticity. Thank you for the honesty. You don't have to be a perfect person to be here and be a good person. You can be on the journey of learning. You can recognize that you have mistakes inside of you. You have made mistakes in your past. You are in the process of God's self, learning about yourself, taking responsibility for the things that you've done, that's some of the best aspects of the Christian religion, is that it brings people to a sense of admitting to their mistakes without guilt and shame, and just being able to be like, yes, I did those things. I really want to be a better person. Can I recreate myself in this image of divine perfection and be the person that I really want to be? That's the positive stuff of, the sense of like being reborn or born again in God. May we all have a pathway to be able to do that. None of this means denying mistakes of the past. Recognize I did that stuff in freedom. I recognize that I did that stuff, and now I'm this person, and I'm recreating or creating better realities and fixing bucket and a mop the stuff that I've done in the past. And guess what? There are people that are here now that did challenging or wrong things, made mistakes is a better way of saying it, in time places like Atlantis, in time places like these far distant galaxies where they use batteries and cloning and all sorts of different types of augmentation technology. Does not mean that you deserve endless suffering, hell, torment, or punishment. It means that you get an opportunity to rectify. You must admit to your mistakes, admit to the things that you know are wrong or that went horribly awry, and then fix it. And that for many embodied people here now, that is the reason for your embodiment here. Again, none of this justifies you as being quote unquote imprisoned within an unjust imprisonment system. So just because you're like, yep, in a past, previous, or concurrent life, I did a bunch of effed up SHIT and I am here rectifying it, does not mean that you or anyone else deserves to be imprisoned in a pineal gland prison. Let me get a drink of water. Where you've got where you have chemtrails roofing your brain all the time. Let me just get a drink of water. Hold on one second, guys. And Trisha says, we move into the live creation timeline, totally like live streaming, synchronizing, not an orgy. I got it. I totally get it. I get where you're coming from. I should get my mind elevated too, right? Along with the planet and the circadian rhythms, totally, because Earth and many aspects of nature have this beautiful, very abundant life force energy of creation, and fertility is a good way of putting it. This beautiful fertile energy. And Joanne says, what a great gift to be able to rectify mistakes. And Trish is laughing. Trish, thank you for giving us like some good humor here. Okay, so it's almost time for me to wrap it up, but let me just I know, and I say this at the very end, the galaxy is like a one-room schoolhouse, and aspects of consciousness at varying levels of development are interacting with self in order to grow or level up. I agree with that in a pristine world. However, in a schoolhouse, you also sometimes have bullies. They're like, yeah, you think you're going to go and you're going to learn reading, writing, and arithmetic? I'm going to break your pencils. I'm going to throw your books down in the mud. I'm going to punch you in the face. You're not going to learn anything. And that is unfortunately what these people that spray chemtrails and antichrist hardwares and softwares have been doing for humans, making it difficult for you to actually learn in the schoolhouse of reality. And they would say, we as self-proclaimed teachers are teaching you all about what it's like to be bullied. Like, this is nonsense, crapola. Please don't justify it. It's unjustifiable. Okay. HF, thank you for being here, says, could you give advice about dealing with tiredness while fasting, while having minimal body fat and hyperactive thyroid gland? Wow. So, although I encourage people, I'm not necessarily a health practitioner or anything like that. So please take anything that I say from, personal reportage and not as a nutritional counselor or anything like that. Fasting can be effective, can definitely help in terms of clearing out let's say pollutions from the body, but I would also definitely say like you should limit your activity levels if it makes you feel tired or lightheaded to do things when you're not eating a lot, or possibly it depends on the length of your fast. Like not everybody can even do a full 24 hours of fast. So autophagy or autophagy is a very effective metabolic aspect when your body does cleanup. And if you can go 14 hours without eating, again, like some people are diabetic, they can't deal with this. But if you're able to do that, so that is how you get your body into autophagy. It's AUTOPHAGY, where your body cleans up stuff that isn't supposed to be in there, eats its own dead cells, eats cancerous cells, and does like a lot of amazing stem cell release and body regeneration. It's actually really, really positive to do. I wasn't always able to do it because I had to take care of my brain and prevent epilepsy, but now I'm able to do it. So here's what autophagy looks like. If you finish your last meal of the day around 5 p.m., and then you wait until you eat breakfast until 7 or 8 a.m. the next morning, and you do not eat additional food or water after 5 p.m., it brings your body into these autophagy phases. And that can be very effective. It's not exactly the same as fasting, but like, what does fasting do? It actually allows the body to go deep into interior cleansing and also emotional cleansing, because a lot of stored emotions and traumas are stored as glucose and fats in the body. So some people are able to be happily active while they are fasting, some people not. So it really depends upon yourself. And if you said have low body fat, and then also you have a very active thyroid or a high metabolism, you might be a person that finds it difficult to do a full day of fasting. You might want to try something also like a juice fast that it involves like some kind of supplementation with like apple juice, or sometimes it's like lemon ginger juice. Like you drink little bits of that throughout the day in order to keep your blood glucose up. And some people find that to be makes it easier to sustain themselves. And then also they still do get some of the relief and release of not overburdening the digestive tract, but if you're taking in glucose, you won't go into autophagy. So just be aware of that. And yeah, he says abstaining after 5 p.m. for autophagy, including water. If you can do it, that's what you do. And also, if you eat protein, like I eat meat, I eat protein. So if I do this, I'll eat my main proteins around 4:30 or 5 p.m., get into that window. I don't do it every day. You can do it a couple of times a week, and it's effective for your body. It's hard for me sometimes to schedule my whole life to be able to do that all the time. Yeah, you don't eat or drink after 5 p.m. And if you can eat a protein meal at 5 p.m., then basically that gives your body the sustenance to be able to be taking care of that during the whole time that you are, resting during the evening and then sleeping at night. And then usually you get up in the morning and drink your coffee or your tea in the morning. And then after that, have breakfast around 7 or 8 or even 9 a.m. And then that is very positive for your body. And also, if you can do autophagy, if you stop eating at 5 p.m. and then the sun goes down, you do sun gazing as the sun is going down, and then you do sun gazing when the sun comes up. All of this is really effective in helping to reprogram your body and your metabolism. And guess what? Everything I just told you is in conjunction with Christ, the true light teacher, sun in the sky. This is all about as we are beginning to transition from being food eaters into light eaters. So it begins to give our body the sense of this is what it is like to just ingest light for a little while. And again, you don't have to do it every day. You can do it even a couple of times a week. And it's a very, very effective, good practice to do, like some of exploring what it is like for about 14 or 16 hours to be a light eater. You eat the sun as it's going down, don't eat food and water after that, and then you eat the sun as it's coming up, and then you wait a little while, and then you eat your breakfast. That's an amazing spiritual practice. You can experiment with that. So Pedro says, next time I fast, I will eat only lasagna, the flying rainbow kind. I love it. I love your enthusiasm. You're fantastic and wonderful. I love that. And I will tell you, so in order for me to do my flying rainbow lasagna activities, that is when I eat my main carbohydrates without any confession, because mostly I eat the fats and the proteins and not that many carbs. But if I'm about to do flying rainbow lasagna, that is when I'm going to eat like something with carbs in it, or something that gives me that super burst of energy right before I do my dance activities. And yeah, then if I eat those carbohydrates before I try to go to bed, then I go in my bed, I put on my headphones, and I'm like, lasagna, like I'm so ready to dance. Can't help it. They really just energize me so much. And Joanne, interesting, says I only eat once a day, but my schedule is different. You need to follow your body. You need to follow what's right for you. Like I said, for many, many years, I ate small meals all throughout the day in order to achieve well-balanced blood sugar, and I could not go 12 or 14 hours without eating. That was unthinkable. So this is only after a lot of brain healing, but everybody's got to follow what is right for your body, what is right for your journey and your path. This is one reason why I am like totally non-judgmental about anybody's dietary choices, about whether you are vegan, vegetarian, carnivore diet, paleo, or any of these other things. People need to do so many unique things in order to heal their body in this time and place. And also that I haven't talked that much about food additives and impurities. There are a lot of things that are impure in our world. So it's not necessarily better to eat fish than it is to eat chicken or something like that. And we need to be in radical compassion towards each other. Whatever other people do, you need to recognize it's their journey, it's their choices made in freedom. We love and support each other. You know, just as I told you, Christs are not in competition with each other. It's not like you prayed to the wrong God, I leave you to burn in hell. We also, at our level of, you know, elevating and getting up to that level of Christhood, we should be out of competition with each other. We should be in divine collaboration with each other, celebrating each other on the journey, learning from one another, and recognizing that everybody is ever evolving, and we have something to learn from all these different ways of being. I eat a lot of almond bread and things that I make that are good for me and good for my body. I shared my recipe with Steph is in this class. She tried it out. It gave her horrible stomach pain. She was like, I found that to be totally undigestible, and I do much better eating potatoes. I'm like, fantastic, like do what is right for your body. I hope I did not share too much by sharing her burgeoning love of potatoes. But this is what this is all about. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't expect everyone to eat only quinoa or almond bread just because I say it's right. That works for my belly, but you might have a very, very different belly. She says, yes, everyone should have a different diet because we are all different, totally, literally different blood types, different genetic structures, different biological origins of where you come from and on the world, and also everything you've been through. Some people have food allergies from the stuff that they have been through that makes it very difficult for them to tolerate certain foods. And that's why they do better on these certain restricted diets. We just have to absolutely love each other and celebrate and uplift each other, not allow diet to be something that we are in finger pointing or judgment over. So you just try to be as positive, supportive, and uplifting of everybody. And, you know, I'm always saying to people, try to eat non-genetically modified organisms, because that will help you to be in tune as a guitar instead of eating these out of tune guitars. Hey, who made the out of tune guitars? The planetary invaders that want to keep you in a prison, that took control of the food supply. I already told you about Monsanto is supposed to be receiving a punch to the face because they harmed a lot of other people instead of receiving billions in profits. They've been receiving billions in profits. They get subsidies from the government. The government is owned and run by these same negative entities. I don't want you to go into disempowerment. So this is actually something good for me to end on. Empowerment stuff. Merkabah is a good, very good empowerment tool. And it's something that I feel is like one size does fit all, that you can use that for so many different things. It is the little black dress of, you know, whatever esoteric tools. You do use the Merkabah for all these different wonderful things. And one of the other empowerment tools that I teach about is flying rainbow lasagna. And when I teach and share with this, about this, I'm very, very clear to tell people that I share with you what, like, this is a sacred gift, flying rainbow lasagna. The dance itself is very special. And that what means the most to me is for people to also embody the accompanying values system of being an artist of reality, not arbitrary, not random, and definitely not egocentric, but in conjunction with the much, much larger music of the cosmos. So I'm offended by these lower level technology space races that do things that are good for them, egocentric, but that harm a lot of others and are out of tune with the larger music of the cosmos. And I am here as a good, virtuoso musician to teach others to be a virtuous virtuoso. That means literally playing the musical score of divine consciousness, the musical score that is the symphony of life, that makes us have coherence and longevity, and that when we play it together, you're meant to have an ecosystem. Wait, let me just close the door for one moment. You're meant to have an ecosystem of consciousness and not be in your own guitar garage band zone, supposed to be able to be playing with others and having this beautiful, amazing experience. So very important to be able to have others who are also coming from the same place, creating a mutualism of uplifted reality and not merely something where they are empowered and power abusers. The power abusers are the ones who have invaded this planet and who imperil God. And the power abusers are unrefined personality characteristics that should have stayed in their own dimension and should have stayed on their own planet and dealt with their own, pardon my French for saying so, shit. Deal with your own shit. Then come be a part of the larger aspects of cosmic galactic society. But they didn't. And so that is the situation that we find ourselves in. And basically what I'm teaching you about is about boundaries. All of these things that have in common sovereignty declarations, which are also very important and powerful, contract revocation, uses of the Merkaba and the flying rainbow lasagna, and enforcement of cosmic law. This all relates to boundaries. And it all relates to the very real concept of your DNA being portals for consciousness and you being a responsible owner, operator, inhabitant of DNA structure, and to say, I do not consent to these things flowing through me. The buck stops here. You know, demons be gone. And I'm joking about demons be gone, but you know what I'm talking about. Melissa says, well, have to finish later. Love you guys. Thank you, Aurora. You're very welcome. Actually, we're just wrapping it up now. Love the lasagna. Rectify the pooties. He used a little poop emoticon, which I think is just too perfect. Thank you very much, Pedro. Yeah, and Joanne is agreeing. She very much dislikes processed foods and tries hard not to judge others, but I'm concerned for them. I hear you. I hear you. I know it. I know it. And when I look at other people eating donuts and stuff like that, I'm just like, that's just not food for me. But, you know, perhaps it could be divine for someone else, but probably not that divine for the intestines, but probably not that good. Let me wrap it up. Actually, I will actually open the floor to any other, Trish says, boundaries. We can learn it from our little felines. Totally. Well said. Well said. Any other questions or comments that you want to be a part of the recorded stuff over here? Very open to that. Let me also just say this, like, difficult day for me today in terms of the horrible psychic weather, my agitations, but I told you it was divine discontent that the dog woke me up and really had me like feeling so agitated, so that I would not give you a pie in the sky teaching today that I'm like, everything is great, everybody, you know, be a total hapless victim. No, that is not who I am and not the way that I want to teach at all. And it was actually very, very effective for me to go through my processing and go through my own inner rage and to be able to make my sovereignty declarations and speak about all of these things and then bring that energy to you. And I hope that you celebrate and respect that. And also, I'm a very real person and I have these same very real responses to injustices being here. Like, no, I'm not okay with a lot of this stuff, and often feel, you know, appropriate emotional responses to it. And that I'm leaving you hopefully energized with some sense of personal empowerment in being able to know more and face the situation and the circumstances more effectively, and not to go into the sense of overwhelm or disempowerment. Yeah, Joanne says, thank you for transmuting that energy. You are very welcome. I feel like that's what I did today. And that's also what I did in this sharing. And I do encourage you to, you know, watch the actual recorded lesson on Teachable. Take it from the beautiful direction that it comes from, but then also please never misapply the things that I am teaching and sharing about in the contextualization of your present circumstances, because that outfit was from 10 years ago. And if you put it on today, there's some parts of it that are not going to fit, and it's not a direct translation, and that you have to upgrade your wardrobe, upgrade so that things fit much more effectively for what is going on. And Trish says, you speak for all of us. Thank you. And you're very, very welcome. Absolutely. Even just how I was teaching 3 years ago is different than how I'm teaching things now. And I have a much, expanded, more focused viewpoint of what things are. Even though, you know something, when I watch these older videos and things, I love myself of that time. I'm like, oh, like that's Aurora from that time, but now I'm Aurora from this time. And then we will at a certain point transcend these lessons and move into a different level of reality. But I'm very, very big on, like, I feel like we need big rectification, big bucket, big mop, and very, very strong personal and spiritual boundaries in terms of what's going on. I think it's time for me to sign off, guys. All right. Now I'm very certain that my dog does not want to go OUT right now, but feeling like I have to sign off. So thank you very much. Going to end the recording for right now, sending you with all of the profound love and respect and encouragement that I can send to you on the journey. And also thank you for seeing me on my journey. Thank you very much, everyone.